All good stories begin with one small step. Arkham's first step was anything but small, a step so big the ground is still shaking 16 years later. Arkham Asylum changed the world. Its mechanics, story, characters, and atmosphere built an experience that left shockwaves that are still rippling through the gaming landscape today. Arkham Asylum acted like a big rock in a small pond, a big splash which created ripples that would change how the fish who inhabit the pond live forever. Initially, Arkham Asylum was praised for its combat, then its accuracy in which it portrayed its characters, then it was its voice cast, then the story, then the atmosphere. But one thing it wasn't praised for was its scope. Asylum was small, contained, but perfectly formed, delicately crafted and beautifully designed, from the electrified floors of the penitentiary to the dizzying heights of Arkham Mansion. Rocksteady had created a beautiful kind of madness that only made Arkham Asylum's walls and bleak design as memorable as the overall experience. But where do you go from what many hailed as the best superhero game of all time? Do you go bigger, deeper, more intricate? Well, what about all of the above? You take the next logical step in the evolutionary journey to perfection, and you think outside of the confines of the walls of the asylum, outside of the realm of Amadeus Arkham's personal hell, and you go to the city. No, not that one, this one. But will having a larger scope ensure Batman Arkham City would hit the targets Asylum missed? The bare bones combat, the lack of replayability, and the all important plot holes. Asylum wasn't perfect, far from it. In fact, at face value, it wasn't even extraordinary, but the devil is in the detail, and the detail was perfect, and City finally has the chance to be just that. Perfect. So 13 years later, what brings me to this prison? What compels us to keep coming back to Hugo's House of Horrors? Is it the graphics, the story, the gameplay? Well, pick your poison, because there's a poison in our veins before we even get to the meat of the story. So, what do you want to talk about? How about we begin with a joke, because by the end of this ordeal you'll be laughing at just how brilliant Arkham City is anyway. Did you hear the one about the two guys escaping from the asylum? Oh, you have? Well, what about this one? Arkham City's map is its biggest letdown. Wait, that wasn't a joke. See, for all of Rocksteady's genius, they've got a huge hole, literally. The maps are all donuts. How weird. What's weirder is how thick the donuts are. Asylum's is small and thick and topped with enough gothic architecture to kill a man. Knight's is a triple topping delight but lacks the substance of its contemporaries on the outside. And City's, well, it's just right. Because City's map leaks of passion, depth and love, and with a flavour as rich and as vibrant as that, who could resist taking a bite? After all, this is media and it was made to be consumed, right? Well, Arkham City is a horseshoe, both literally and in layout, because it has one giant hole in its design, and that's its very existence. When we leave Stranger's clutches at the beginning of the game, we have two choices: head to save Catwoman from being dunked in Two-Face's acid trap, or explore. And well, the exploration of life is what makes a man whole. And speaking of holes, look at this. Arkham City has a giant gap. A gap which makes the map hard to navigate. It almost breaks Arkham's cardinal rule of completing the circle at all costs. The three islands of Night connected by towering bridges, and the Circle of Madness in Asylum connected by tunnels both follow this rule. Origins breaks the rule and tries to be different. Big mistake. Why break what isn't in need of breaking? City almost breaks the rule too, but it doesn't. Head beneath the surface and you'll find Arkham City's great saviour, of an otherwise very poor design. Arkham City has a subway.
Do those things even work underground? I read the manual. It never said anything about working underground.
Yeah, they work.
If you say so.
Since when have you been all about reading, anyway?
I read.
Horn don't count.
A subway that bleeds into different parts of the prison. It doesn't confine you, it's a shortcut through the bottom of the donut. Well, not really, it's actually slower, but the point is the option's there should you use it and want to avoid the enlarged moon lurking above you and fight through the atmospheric haunts of the underbelly of old Gotham. Relics of a bygone era lay in the subway station, a poster advertising a freak show from decades past. Train cars stand as still as our Dark Knight when that same freak show comes back to town. Arkham City has layers, like I said, but what separates these layers is nothing short of holy. In fact, It's more holes. Remember the donut analogy? Well, scrap that. Think of it more as Swiss cheese, full of holes and ready to be taken by the rats. The rats being you. Batman is more of a rat man in the world, and I'm not talking about the rat man beneath the Los Santos sewers. In fact, the Arkham sewers make Los Santos look clean and safe, because Arkham's underground means more layers, and as the layers pile on top of each other, so too does the atmosphere. This game has layers in everything, possibly more than Night, Asylum or Origins have. Its layers of atmospheric genius are the closest callback to Asylum's distant and haunting memory we get. The gothic architecture, the unsettling ambience, and the disgusting surroundings are ugly, but as Asylum's was Lovecraftian ugly, this is 2011 gaming ugly. Grey, brown, black and... wait, is that a neon sign? Well, Gears of War 2 be damned, the colourless curse dies here. Arkham City sprinkles colour throughout its map with all of the subtlety of Bane at a LEGO convention, but it does this well. See, with all of its nuanced decisions, Arkham City isn't afraid of making you ask why there's working neon signs in an otherwise dreary dumping ground of criminal scum. Ace Chemical springs to mind, a literal and figurative beacon of hope shining smack bang in the centre of the donut. Other signs point to the prison state that you're in. Some tap into that one episode of Batman Brave and the Bold you watched that one time, and some into your innate desires for love, you horn dog. But most importantly are the facts, and the facts are, City has beauty in its bejeweled skyline, and it has a very interesting design. Arkham City's map layout wouldn't be enough to carry this world by itself. No, see, what Rocksteady needed to do was polish the turd, decorate the defecation. And how do you do this? Well, you make it its own, and you make it familiar to your players by separating them visually and atmospherically, and Arkham City nails this with its map design. Gang leaders fight a bloody war in the middle of our once great city. Wait, I've heard that one before. And you've heard this before. Each part of the map is ran by different members of Batman's rogue gallery, in the same style as Resident Evil Village with the four houses of Moreu, Beneviento, Heisenberg, and of course, Dimitrescu, respectively. City plants the seeds of a brewing gang war from the jump and takes members of Batman's rogues gallery who've taken their turf and built their forts. Penguin runs the Bowery, Joker runs the Amusement Mile, Two-Face runs Park Row, and Arkham's underbelly, well, that has nothing to do with the gang war, but we'll get to that later. Because atop the highest layer of the city's concrete skin, each of these gangs are tussling with one another for control of the prison state, and as the night goes on, gangs move in on each other's turf, bodies litter the floor, and the subway begins getting its first customers in a while. Arkham City becomes a war zone, and as we're soon to find out, it's only going to get worse, because not even the holiest of holy grounds is safe from the madness. Joker has taken a shot at us from the church, and inside the church is the clown's girlfriend, a picture of perfect mental health which is quickly brushed aside as we enter the game's first stealth section. A memory straight from the walls of the asylum, one of many we'll confront tonight. But here it's deeper. Architecturally, this is the closest we'll get to being back on the island. A loose 3-tier setup, set up for certain takedowns as we stalk the prey below. A silent takedown from above, a wall takedown, a breathing dead body, oh this is going to be a long night, and a double silent takedown, all useful in the hands of the right combatant, useless to the uninitiated. See, what this setup does for us is remind us that although we're not in the asylum anymore, its ghost haunts the series and reminds us that we'll never really escape it. Asylum stealth was nothing short of shallow, but City is all about depth. Aside from the new package of takedowns, City allows gadgets to be just as important as your wits and planning. Take, for instance, the smoke bomb, a get-out-of-jail-free card that serves the Batman fantasy. Something Asylum did, but never this well. Stealth takes on a new form in City. Gone are the days of the classic takedowns which made Asylum's encounters a chore to play through. We're in the future now, and the advancements in stealth allow us to get down on the criminal's level. Not in the moral sense, but in the physical sense. This precedent is set right from our first encounter in the church, where the game all but spells out to us on screen, do not use the gargoyles. The gargoyles now more than ever are a traversal mechanic above all else, a way to get Batman around the rafters rather than a gothic kill room in the sky. Our stealth tutorial tells us to use new ways to take down the thugs. Hang from the ledge is provided to use the new silent takedowns. An instant upgrade trade on the one-note cheap shots we could once level at thugs all day. This already gives us more creativity than ever, and we haven't even scraped the surface. Enemy manipulation is more important now than ever, moving the playing field to our liking and making our own set of rules. Gone are the confines of the preset rulebook Rocksteady laid out to us in the game before. Arkham City allows Batman to become the shadows. It allows you to become the orchestrator of a figurative murder scene, as you slowly dismantle the thugs below you by moving them where you want them, playing with them, striking fear into them with a plethora of new techniques, new gadgets, new takedowns. Arkham City Stealth takes on a life of its own and improves on everything Asylum's foundations laid out. Asylum had you lurking through tight corridors, picking off goons like you were ticking boxes. But here you're the urban legend. You're not just hiding anymore, you're haunting people. You land on a ledge, 6 guys below you, 2 snipers on Overwatch, 1 guy's panicking already. It's a symphony of chaos just waiting for you to conduct it. You pick a guy off, vanish into the rafters, and the others start losing their minds, screaming your name into the dark. They're not worried about Batman, they're worried about you, and it's not like you're short on options. Rocksteady handed you the keys to fear and told you to get creative. Remote electrical charge to mess with the machinery, freeze grenades to trap enemies in place, disruptor to block their weapons. You can set traps, sabotage guns, drop smoke, glide kick from across the room, and you need it all because the AI isn't playing dumb this time. If you repeat a tactic, they counter it. Camp on gargoyles, they shoot them down, use silent takedowns too much. In the late game sections, they'll mine the floors. They even bust out mobile jammers, blocking your attempts at using your crutch, your detective mode. They aren't playing, they adapt to you, not the other way around, and that flips the whole vibe on its head. You're not in control because the game lets you be, you're in control because you have to earn that privilege. That tension, that feeling of being outnumbered but still untouchable, that's where stealth becomes magic. Asylum gave you controlled arenas, City gives you an entire city. In the late game, the city's rooftops become armed to the teeth, manned like the militia checkpoint we'd be taking down 4 years later. Suddenly, stealth and traversal become one. Suddenly, the sky isn't your safe space anymore. Snipers will take shots at you. Whole gangs will open fire should you be spotted in the wrong side of town. Not that there's a right one. But this isn't their playground, it's yours. Every corner, every alley, every rooftop, every bit of the map can become your personal hunting ground if you want it to be. It's not just about stealth rooms anymore, it's about a stealth mindset, because you can make like Mark Grayson and become invisible. You fly over a group of goons with guns and in second you're planning routes in, routes out, combos, angles of attack. It doesn't matter if it's a story beat or just some thug patrolling a rooftop. The rules of engagement don't change. You're still in control of the chaos should you choose to work for the right to be. There's a fluidity to the way City handles stealth, a kind of rhythm that feels less like a mechanic and more like the dance that combat takes you on. You stalk, strike, vanish, repeat until there's no one left but that last guy, begging the air not to kill him. But what really seals it is the way the game reacts to you. The thugs aren't just meat for the grinder, they flinch, they crack, they talk, they scream, they even strategize. The audio design does half the work for you. He's picking us off, where is he? It's just you and me now. You feel the fear, and in that moment the mask doesn't matter because it's not who you are, it's what you do that defines you here. You are Batman, not because the game told you you are, but because the game dared you to play like him. And you did. You adapted, outsmarted, survived. Stealth in Arkham City isn't a side dish anymore. It's a meaty main course. It's the system you constantly find yourself falling back on. The thing that ties exploration, combat and progression together. It's where the city and the game feel most alive. Not in the noise, but in the silence between takedowns. Not in the blaring music of combat, but in the way a room goes quiet after the last guy drops and the sweet release of that room clearing note plays. That quiet that follows, that's respect. That's fear. City stealth shows us we're in uncharted waters now, drowning in the sea of possibilities. And it's back, better than ever. Eventually, we hunt down Joker who's resting atop the church. We get up to the top and find a fucking strike pack. Okay, fair enough, assassination isn't Joker's style in all fairness to the Clown Prince, but when he does finally show up on the screens in front of us, he looks rougher than usual and tells us his thoughts on the feud between himself and the Bat. He thinks one of them will die looking at the other's body, in the same way Kane looked over Abel's body following the first murder. Batman and the Joker meet tonight in dramatically different circumstances, but as the night gets deeper they'll meet on the same level, and that's where we find our core driving factor behind the night's proceedings. But for now, we just have to worry about the boss. The church has met a swift and unholy end at the hands of the Joker, but formed a beautiful new beginning, because we'll be back here later, but before it asks us a question, we need to ask ourselves one. Is Batman Arkham City's story setup actually very good? Well, that's a question which can only be answered by looking deeper than Joker's surface level threats. Batman tracks Joker down, hunts him and his girlfriend to the old Zionist steel mill, and it's here we get a scene which would simultaneously make and break the entire premise for this game. But before that, a small interjection from our favourite feline femme fatale, Catwoman. Catwoman has her own side plot intertwined and ultimately tied directly into the main plot. Its inclusion is contentious among the community, but Selina is a fully fledged character, having her own moves, traversal, voice line, stealth system, and outfit. Selina appears at the start of the game. That's right, the Batman game opens as Catwoman, as she's caught by Two-Face stealing from him, which explains why she was in his clutches when we stopped her from becoming Acid Vatwoman, but here we find Selina wanting to access Hugo Strange's personal vault, which contains valuable goods. She comes to the conclusion that the best way to get into the vault is to break in using Poison Ivy's plants, which makes sense because, as she says, she prefers a female touch. The two have a history, so surely she'd help. The only issue is, when we get to Ivy's plant palace, she's remembered her boss fight in Asylum, but also remembered she can't do that again because this is a sequel, and in theory everything should be better than before, and in terms of mechanical depth this fight is weak. The two talk business and ultimately agree to work together, with Ivy breaking into Strange's vault using her plants, so Selina can make a swift entrance. Catwoman's intertwining story isn't what we're here to talk about though, because much like the game itself, Catwoman is incredibly fluid, fun and interesting. Catwoman doesn't feel like an afterthought, and she really does feel like an extension of the game's mechanics itself, because she brings a fluid and fast-paced gameplay experience to the open world, mixing it up with Batman really well. Batman spends a lot of his time above the rooftops, observing from above, but with Catwoman you feel like you're in the city, because her traversal facilitates a more close-to-the-ground feel, because she uses her whip to climb the walls, not a grapnel gun, a lunge, not a cape. She feels more in touch with the surrounding world, and the city nearly works for her traversal better than it does for Batman. Her traversal, although initially slower than Batman's, is more fun to master, and has a low skill floor and an extremely high skill ceiling. Batman's traversal provides limited opportunity for a true skill floor and skill ceiling. There are definitely ways to optimise his movement, but there's definitely a lack of mechanical skill required to get from point A to point B after the initial grapnel boost and glide combo is established. However, with Catwoman 16 years on, I'm still learning her movement, the timing and impulse needed to get her moving as efficiently as possible, and I think her timing-based movement patches the hole presented by the skill floor and skill ceiling issue presented by Batman's pretty surface-level gliding really well. In combat, Selina controls largely the same as Batman, with the added function of pure speed and finesse. Batman's punches feel thrown to keep an opponent down, whereas Catwoman's attacks come across as setups for larger moves. These moves often take a while, with her special combo moves taking about half an hour to an hour to complete most of the time, leaving her open to attacks more often than not. However, she makes up for this relative slowness with her increased speed in general combat, and this is where she shines. Catwoman feels amazing in combat situations where the enemies are plentiful and the weapons are weak, because bouncing from foe to foe with her is arguably more satisfying than the Bat. She has a great set of animations which embrace her more seductive side while combining it with finesse, flipping, kicking, and whipping her way through encounters like a circus's closing act. Her quickfire whip allows for a cool alternative to Batman's Batarang, but it never feels like something that enhances the combat unlike the Dark Knight's projectiles. But aside from her lack of reliable gadgets, Selina appears as a great break from Batman, a side character who feels fleshed out, cared about, and was used really well, and was a great inclusion from Rocksteady. We haven't covered all of Selina's content because she'll be back a bit later. Anyway, what was going on in that steel mill again?
Get back here, Harley.
And I want to know who he is, sweetie.
No one's who you think they are, my dear. Why spoil the fun?
It was all a lie. There's nothing wrong with you.
Nice of you to say, but you of all people should know there's plenty wrong with me.
Oh, that's right, we have Joker in control. Batman is tied to a chair, and Joker's blood is being pumped into the Bat system. But here's the catch. Joker isn't doing what he thinks he's doing. He thinks he's going to poison Batman with his blood because it's infected with the Titan formula used to create that horrible boss fight back in the asylum. But he isn't. He's actually doing a collaboration with Kendrick Lamar because he's made Batman live with his bad blood now. Joker is speeding the rate at which Batman dies up by committing medical malpractice, a bad blood transfusion. And worst of all, he's doing it to all of the people of Gotham. Wait, what was that? You don't care? Oh, don't worry, neither do I. By the time we leave this room, neither will anyone. Because where Arkham City's story truly begins is also where its external stakes end. See, no one cares about nameless, faceless statistics in a city we never see. In the same way you don't donate your £5 a month to the donkeys dying in Zambia, Batman won't donate his time to saving the people of Gotham in this game, relegating that to the other half of the dynamic duo because it doesn't serve the plot. It's a way to invoke fake urgency into a player, but all the motivation we need to get this show on the road is right there. Batman is dying. If Batman dies, the player cries. If Gotham dies, the player sighs. Arkham City suffers from trying too hard to make the player move the story forward, when by putting our caped Crusader in danger, it does all it can to make the player care, and in doing so puts the Bat and Joker on the same page. Almost. See, here's Arkham City's next sin, creating an alliance based on mutual destruction and destroying it as soon as the scene ends. Joker and Batman have the same illness, allegedly, and so when Joker sends Batman out to get them both a cure, the two are working together. But one phone call later and that alliance ends. Putting the Clown Prince and the Caped Crusader on the same team could have been a great opportunity to explore the very fibres of their relationship. But City decides that simply telling the player they should think Batman and Joker are on the same side is enough. Imagine Joker telling his men not to provoke Batman, but all of those years of hurt caused by the Bat get the better of his men, creating a weird and uneasy alliance built on Joker's information and Batman's physical ability. Joker acting like the man in the chair as Batman chases the cure. It could have been something completely new and interesting. But alas, City doesn't pull the trigger on this, preferring a Watcher in the Wings and Glider through the Rings dynamic. And by rings, I mean these things. These are augmented reality training rings. Rings of power. Because get through enough of these bad boys and Batman can glide further than ever before, providing even more depth to a lofty movement system. The Bat can fly like he's never flown before, using the grapnel gun to fire a spandex-laden rodent into the city skyline. This also means Arkham City once again builds on the grounds of the old asylum, breaking out of its walls and confining City not to the hardware limitations of the late 2000s, but to the limitations of physics itself. Think of the city as a blank canvas, the streets' crevices to be painted over with the Batwings. Arkham City's new and improved gliding allows the player to express how their Batman glides. Is it in the city's streets, close to the action and closer to the ground, or above the rooftops, taking in the sights, sounds and views of the super prison? Either way, Arkham's new cape will let you express your Batman. Not in the way Insomniac would let Peter swing through the New York City 7 years later, but in the way Rocksteady intended. It's fluid, smooth, and serves the Batman fantasy like never before. We can glide, dive, pull up, and fly higher. We don't even need to grapple anymore if we don't want to. Batman can become independent from the restrictive nature of any sort of point-and-click based grapnel gun. He can become truly free, using the momentum built from clever dives and the good old run and dive to truly set the Bat free across Arkham City. But enough gushing over that, we have a cold curator of cures to go and find. So how about we glide on over there through the ruins of the Industrial District and... is that a distress flare? Well, 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 look who it is. Bane, here in Arkham City. Bane comes to us at a time when we don't actually want to see this guy because we are dying. Alas, who doesn't want to help everyone's favourite car-struck superstar drug user? Well, we do. We want to, and so we will. We need to find the other half of the remaining Titan from the asylum and destroy it. Bane agreed to destroy it too. After all, who wants to collect a drug that dangerous? Okay, spoiler alert, he does. And as we find out after destroying our batch of 6 Titan containers scattered around the map, Bane here is a greedy boy, holding all of the gamer supplements for himself, something the thugs of the city don't like. So after fighting alongside Bane in one of the coolest moments in the game and sending them back to the Dream Realm, Bane reveals his plan. He just wanted to round up the Titan for himself and kill us? How'd that go for you last time? Oh, like that. We destroy Bane's stash and leave the 7'4" mountain of muscles behind that very flimsy metal door, because it's well established he can't break through walls or anything, and then we head back out into the city, onward to the GCP... Oh. Penguin's men are here? And the Iceman hasn't cometh? He's gone, and as we're soon to find out, he's a point of contention for Gotham's elite criminals. But how did we even get in here? Well, let's take a trip back a couple of hours to a political press conference held by Gotham's Playboy Prince, Bruce Wayne. Bruce wants to let the people of Gotham know that Arkham City is an awful idea. I mean, a super prison in the heart of Gotham? What a strange idea. Anyway, Wayne is kidnapped by Tiger, a private army under the literal control of Professor Hugo Strange, a man whose undeniable genius knows no bounds. Except one. He left us in this room unguarded and with partial knowledge of his master plan, Protocol 10. He also tells us he knows our identity. How scary. In fact, he doesn't just tell us, he uses it as a threat which he's never brought up again. And despite this premise being fascinating, he never acts out any action with it. He has the Batman's identity in his lab coat as an ace in the hole, and does nothing with it. Empty threats from a soon-to-be-fallen king. Protocol 10, on the other hand, is a secret plan to... well, no one knows. Selina doesn't know.
Never heard of it.
Joker doesn't know.
Never heard of it.
And Bane...
Of course.
yeah, okay, he's a lost cause. Anyway, hey, it's Black Mask. And Will Smith? Well, life finds a way to foreshadow itself, doesn't it? Speaking of foreshadowing, do you remember our trip to the steel mill? Well, Harley Quinn didn't read the spoiler warning, because that's a big one, Harley. You too, Selina? Damn. Huh. So that's how you got catnapped. So's you're right for spoiling our journey.
Oh, we both know how this is going to turn out. You're going to come and find me. You can't stop yourself, can you? Sometimes I wonder if all this will just end with one of us looking down at the other's corpse, trying to work out what to do next. The only question is, whose body will it be? I know who I'm rooting for. What about you? Now get out of there now, or you'll ruin everything.
And Mr. J, really? Please guys, we need to stop this foreshadowing. I mean, it's subtle enough to be completely overlooked on a first playthrough. It's clever at the forefront of each scene it's in, hidden in plain sight like the titular Dark Knight in a Predator encounter. And all of this foreshadowing might come in handy later, but for now, we have to get out of Strange's prison. So back to the... Jesus, man, can we get a minute? Wait, who the hell is that? I really hope we don't see him again. Anyway, ouch! Penguin doesn't seem happy. Not that we care, because we'll get some good old-fashioned revenge for his good old-fashioned revenge later. But we get the suit. I repeat, the suit, and our pseudo title card. The stakes are bigger, the introduction is grander in scope, and the suit is, oh my god, this suit. So that's how we got here, but where are we going? Oh yeah, the museum. We head across the city, and hey look, it's Azrael. Sorry for the spoiler, but he's been watching us for a while now, studying our every move from our clean combos to our not so clean stealth management. And so we want to see what our new biggest fan wants, and what he wants is to tell us about the coming end of days, a day not even Batman can save Gotham from. A day of reckoning. Azrael poses no threat, but definitely adds a layer of mystique to the world, being seen around the city, in the background of cutscenes, and even, as we saw right at the start, he's always there, watching us, writing mental notes on our abilities, because in his mind, he's next in line for the cowl, come the day of the demise of the Dark Knight Defender, which he promises is coming. Even more eerie, he shows up right after we save everyone. Everyone we save in this game is quickly followed by an Azrael interaction. But the end of days isn't coming tonight, maybe not even tomorrow night, but perhaps 2015? Alright Azrael, I'll meet you there. You know what doesn't sound too good to me? Jammers. We get to Casa Cobblepot only to be faced with 3 of Arkham's biggest monsters, glorified fetch quests. Some argue the whole story is a fetch quest. Go find Joker, now freeze, now Penguin, now freeze again, now Ra's, now freeze again, now Joker, now Talia, and wait, we're literally fetching the cure. Huh. But this is the worst example of Arkham's incompetence. See, not only is this lazy, forced, and repetitive, but it's actually fun. Not gameplay-wise, no, gameplay-wise this is no better than collecting a new gadget. I'm not kidding either, you boil this down and it's a singular button pressed 9 times when the jammers are unguarded. But it's fun because of the carefully crafted world. See, where this game thrives in the same way Origins, Asylum and Night did, is through its environments. The encapsulation of Gotham in a video game form. This is where Arkham makes up for its own ego. The thought any player would find these quests fun is founded in a world where the very existence of critical thinking itself is a concept. But Arkham throws this idea at us and wraps it with beauty. Disgusting, evil, chaotic beauty. Arkham City's infamous fetchy nature comes bundled with some of the most powerful elements of visual storytelling in the franchise. The whole map is littered with stories, moments in time frozen by the rapid expansion of the criminal underworld throughout Gotham. The hat shop, the DA's office, the body and amusement mile that's clearly been posed by... Hold up, I'm getting a call. Hello? Who is this?
Do you recognize my voice?
Oh, I should have known. Victor Zsasz is here, and this time he isn't a tutorial boss, more a vessel for lore, a serial killer, so to speak. Victor rings various phones around the city, each holding their own slice of his life. He tells us the story of how he became the very neat monster we all know and loathe. Long story short, Victor was a gambling addict, a good one, until the house won, and as all serial killers do, he took his anger out on not only himself, but the innocents of the city he calls his hunting ground, and we have to save his victims one by one, answering his calls on time. Using a neat little mechanic I've called following the funny marker on screen to track the objective, we eventually pinpoint our cold call killer to his quarters, his kill room at the docks in Amusement Mile. When we pull up to his house of horror, we use every bit of traversal in our arsenal to navigate the watery hell and jump this fool. We take Victor Zsasz down and save his hostages, hanging up on our cold call killer for good before heading back into the open world of Arkham City to deal with those jammers. I can feel a trip underground coming on. We get the first jammer out of the way in the most one-dimensional, short and somehow overused cutscene of all time. There's no minigame, no differing animations, just pure ass. See, Arkham City has lines it won't cross. The combat has flair, the movement has fluidity, and the mission design has, It has something a lack of motivation to reinvent the wheel can produce, and in all honesty, who needs to reinvent the wheel when the wheel looks this good? Before we got rudely interrupted by Zaz, I believe we were talking about the set dressing, Arkham's finest achievement. When the city looks this good and every enemy placement is this intentional, the only thing that can come from it is a great experience. On the surface, it's mundane, it's a fetch quest which distracts from the overarching narrative of the larger fetch quest at hand. But in this rare case, let's take a look at the cover of the book and judge it. It's grimy, dark, twisted, and kind of disgusting, but the city is steeped with this unshakable aura, the feeling of being a rat in a maze, a big maze full of your worst nightmares. And when we head underground and into the train station, this feeling increases tenfold. We're no longer above the rats, we're with them. We morph into the rodent of the sewers we trained to be back in the depths of the old asylum. And down here, we aren't even any better than the guards surrounding the very thing we swore to destroy about 5 minutes ago. But while we're here talking about this, we might as well do the job we came to do. The jammers are a slight distraction from an otherwise intriguing plot at this point. If there's one thing they do help us with, it's getting to grips with open world combat and stealth, something we'll become accustomed to come Protocol 10 and the reveal of Hugo Strange's plan. But aside from that, there's nothing to see here. So let's enter Cobblepot's Castle of Creeps and take down his criminal crew and find our cold cure curator. If this was a film, there'd be a title card here, because this is arguably our most familiar location yet. Not in gameplay, no, so far that was the church, and despite its currently unexplored waters being in our future, not our past, the striking designs, the gothic architecture, the winding hallways, the jump scares and unnerving ambience are all comforting. We've been here before and will be here again. The maze tightens in on you as you make your way through its veins, around the arteries and the muscles, right to the heart where our greatest fear lives. Not Scarecrow, but another glimpse at memories best left in the past. The very thing which is presumably killing us now stands in front of us in a physical form, and unlike us, it wants blood that isn't its own. Cobblepot throws the kitchen sink at us, and it throws its cage at us. Here we get our first real throwback fight, a blast from our Titan-fueled past. The very reason we're here now reminds us the walls are closing in. The walls of the city are letting us know we can't escape the past, and at this rate our future won't be something we can look forward to. The cure is in Freeze's head, and Freeze is in here, and in one of Arkham's finest displays of self-indulgence, we go back in time. Through the late Cretaceous period, through the Jurassic period, and right through to a tropical cabana at the coccyx of the body of horror Oswald sewn together for us, like a Frankenstein's monster of horrible interior design. The museum stands as a stark reminder of not only the order of the natural world and how futile it really is when met with something bigger than its own self, or the wondrous joy and unbridled intrigue through the building's contents once projected into the minds of Gotham's families, but it reminds us that, again, no matter where we are, the asylum's in our head. It scarred Batman as it scarred us. We can't quite shake that awful feeling that no matter how hard we try, the walls are again closing in. And the only way that we can rid ourselves of that feeling is to remove the walls entirely. But when you do as Rocksteady and WB did and remove the walls of the asylum and city and replace them with invisible barriers which still force us into our pen once again, you have to ask yourself one very important question. Is bigger always better? In Arkham's case, I'd argue not. Asylum is lauded for its unmatched feeling and atmospheric design, the Lovecraftian feeling of a supernatural island, steeped in misery, death and history, served up with a side of chilling backstory which tells us of Arkham's birth. And even when we're in here, in the city, the museum and the walls feel tight. The corridors are big but restrictive in a way something only this linear could be, and in the same way Amadeus crafted the halls of the manor to fill us with this never-ending feeling of dread, Cobblepot has brought together this husk of history and combined it with the grotesque body parts of games gone by, a never-ending void of joy and life, crudely filled with sharks, sharts and shocks, which feels right. But when you begin removing the physical walls and replacing them with invisible walls on the outside, to the extent of the two younger brothers of the series, we have an issue and a question. What the hell happened to that immersion? What do you mean he just turns around? Walls make a house, and if you remove the walls and show me a bigger house I can get within touching distance of, and then tell me I can't touch it, I'm gonna not like the house I'm currently in very much anymore. And whereas Night and Origins fall flat based on their city's design and the obstacles presented by widening the scopes too far, especially in Origins' case, City and Asylum understood that to make Batman feel weaker, you need to pen him in with his greatest foes, not give him free rein to patrol. Not to knock Night or Origins, if anything they're both better Batman simulators than Asylum or City could ever hope to be. But the point stands. Atmosphere cannot exist to the degree the series built itself on if the walls housing that atmosphere are knocked down and replaced with beautiful cities, and the museum feels like a horrific and unsettling reminder of this. And as we needed to head further into the asylum, we need to head further into the terrifying heart of a megalophobic's worst nightmare. I say this because the museum makes you feel small, smaller than even its boss. The first thing you're forced to experience is the mechanical screech and leathery hide of the king of the dinosaurs, a mechanical T-Rex who somehow scares you worse than the real thing. Pterodactyls float above head, but unlike they did 65 million years ago, these guys aren't going anywhere, they're confined to the walls of the museum. The glass display cases feel slightly too big, like they're designed to make you feel like whatever was once housed within them was larger than life itself. The watery grave which separates us from our prize is encased by the shadow of Cthulhu, a huge sprawling beast made to strangle the life out of us. All 8 legs working in tandem to let Batman and the player know they're nothing when faced with the realisation that they're but a drop in a sea of horrible creatures who hang out in the rafters. In fact, the only tiny thing here is the shark who waits patiently for us to mess up so it can strike and take a bite from the bat's butt. Here, Oswald Cobblepot is the king of the castle, and this is his world. He's tamed the shark, weaponised it against passers-by, taking the natural evolutionary order of nature and making it his own, turning assassins of the Atlantic to lurkers of the lounge. But Oswald has one more surprise for us, but we'll get to that later, because we need to get back on solid ground. See, each room on solid ground holds more mega monsters. Mammoths, icebergs, and Freeze? Freeze might not be physically huge, but after rescuing a group of undercover cops Penguin found infiltrating his internal team, and being slowed down to a halt all night by fetch quests, questions unanswered and dinosaur attractions, Freeze might be our biggest step forward yet in our joint quest to find the cure for our ailment. Yes, I said joint. Remember, Joker's on our side here. Oh, you forgot, so did everyone else, but he's not afraid to remind us. He's here every now and then, and he's leaving us voice messages, telling us how much he misses Batman and how much he really needs that cure. See, Arkham City isn't afraid to remind us what's happening. After all, the story doesn't, so the world has to. Speakers play Hugo Strange's countdown to Protocol 10, still an unknown entity to Batman at this point, an ominous reminder of genius and insanity left unchecked. Joker will happily remind us he's involved in this periodically, giving us little tidbits of information on how he's holding up. But this isn't enough. Dropping Arkham City's story back into the hole from whence it was dragged out of. Its shallow attempt at making the Clown Prince of Crime our purple-plaid partner simply isn't enough to save what's left of this game's very foundations. It's a story built on what lies atop the foundations, because the very groundwork for this story are as weak as your wrists after spending 5 hours on this game's challenge maps. If you need Arkham lore, it's there, drip-fed to you through the game's interview tapes. And these are Sharp's time to shine, where he puts his degree into use and breaks down Arkham's inhabitants, taunting the Riddler, laughing at the Joker, and mocking everyone else. Arkham City didn't learn any lesson from its predecessor. Those tapes played while we explored, these ones stop when the menu is closed, and trust me, that sent most of your listener base back to the lobby. But the same can't be said about the enemies. They learned their lesson. They step up their game in the museum, forwarding their plans of taking down Batman and taking the museum for good, because those little getaways to Gargoyle City we hold so dearly are things of the past thanks to the next generation in fuck you technology. Remember the asylum, the warm embrace of a gargoyle shrouded in that beautifully inviting orange hue reminded us that we had a get out of jail card. Not a free one though, because those brooding gothic hounds of protection are always bound to fail us eventually, being rigged to blow in the final chapter of the game. But that was a short-term pain in a long-ass game. This is different. Primal fear from those better prepared than the patients of Arkham, worried they'll be pounced on, and in that worry, they've reversed the detective mode we rely on and made it their own, albeit less omniscient. It's more focused, more honed, but much like Asylum, in its finer scope, it sees the smaller details flourish, like the 6'3" bat creature looking down on its prey. Arkham City isn't afraid to make the player and Batman feel outgunned, make them think harder, move faster, and fight without the restraints of a younger man, one hampered by the restraints applied by Arkham Asylum's straitjacket gameplay. By straitjacket, I mean that Asylum's stealth felt limited. I know we've already touched on the stealth, but there's multiple takedowns to use, sure, but only a few that worked in practice. An inverted takedown and a silent knockout are all you needed. Maybe you could mix it up, but what was the point? Why break what isn't broken? Well, some say City suffers from the same plight of incompetence, but this is where we make like the map the game inhabits and complete the loop with the introduction of thermal goggles. The beautiful joy of hiding in the shadows is stripped away, but escalation's a bitch. We start carrying semi-automatics, they buy automatics. We start wearing Kevlar, they buy armour-piercing rounds. But they start carrying thermal goggles, and we take a dip into the upgrade tree. And with one press of a button, all our worries are brought to an end, as long as we stay still enough. This is escalation. This is balance. Arkham balances the thought of being spotted with the ability to take away that thought at the price of being the worst thing a predatory bat could be. Stationary. At the cost of moving out of the way when that big blue light hits the ceiling, we have to stay still to avoid detection. Sure, it's comforting knowing we have a Wayne Tech safety blanket wrapped around us, but in that case, what's the point in giving us the big blue monster to run away from? Perhaps the advancements in technology on both sides means neither side truly win. And by sides, I mean us and Batman, the unapologetically stoic force of justice versus the whiny video game player. Where does the Batman fantasy begin ruining the gameplay? Well, here's the trick. It doesn't. Rocksteady balanced Arkham City's stealth sequences on a knife's edge, making just enough headway and enemy advancements to make us sweat a bit, but not enough to ever make Batman feel underpowered. This bleeds over into the other enemy types too. Imagine the worst, most annoying YouTube video you've ever watched, and I'm not talking about reacting to your hottest Arkham takes part 3, and I agree with this wholeheartedly. Arkham Knight for me. 7 out of 10 to start off this video with, and let's get on to the next one. And there's no skip button, so you have to watch it, and the only way to stop watching it is to break your phone or PC. That's our next enemy type, the armoured armed assailant. With the introduction of these new enemy types, there's now a walking tank on the map, a man protecting himself from all of Batman's usual takedowns, but not his unusual ones. The end of the line challenge map puts us in the same train station terminal we took out the jammers in earlier, but this time fills it with armoured enemies exclusively, turning a usually simple challenge into a nigh-on impossible bout between the Bat and the... oh wait, no it's not, these guys aren't any harder and are arguably easier to take down than your standard thug. For a taster, what about the classic variety? A simple Batclaw over the ledge, nothing out of this world. Simple, effective, memorable, and most importantly reliable. What about something more robust, precise? A remote Batarang followed by a ground takedown will do. A tale as old as time, born in the asylum and made in the city. A classic combo which has stood the test of time. And what about something for the end of the night? Something big, bold. What about the Wreck Gun? One of the newer additions to the utility belt ensures an instant knockdown at the cost of closeness. The blast will send your flow flying far, but it's nothing a ground takedown can't fix, and certainly nothing a bit of manipulation so your target is less than a few feet from the edge of a guardrail can't fix for an instant takedown. And finally, for dessert, the finest cutlery. A bomb placed down by one of our armoured friends' own men. An explosive ending to an otherwise silent party. These would become familiar faces in the coming games, whether it be the Arkham Knights Militia or Bane's men in the Gotham Royale. Arkham took a step up here with its enemy variety. This would make the stealth sections in Arkham born again, rising from the ashes of the asylum's shoddy and repetitive predator rooms and becoming new, thought out, and most importantly, fun for us. The museum is the vessel for our first difficulty spike, and to cap it off we take a step back in time. Not back as far as the museum's visible attractions would have you believe though. No, we're going back about a century, so sit down, grab a hot chocolate, and let me tell you a story. Over 100 years ago, before the first season of Fortnite came out, a sadistic killer named Cyrus Gold tried to escape the long arm of the law by hiding in an aptly named Slaughter Swamp. But dark forces made sure Cyrus would meet a fate worse than death, being trapped in a YouTube Shorts comment section. Cyrus would be forced to die and be reborn day after day, an endless cycle of death and rebirth. 100 years, encounters with the head of the demon and a nursery rhyme later, and Solomon Grundy would be born, and he's not happy to see us. Our first boss fight of the game, Solomon Grundy, is here, and he's asleep. That's until Cobblepot springs the zombie back to life in a twisted attempt at taking down the Bat. Grundy electrocutes back to life for the god knows how many times now, and Batman uses his PhD in chain estimation to look cool as fuck before the former criminal lurches towards Batman, repeating the first 3 days of his namesake nursery rhyme, before again Gotham's head of chain physics puts his degree into practice, expertly positioning himself as to not be crushed to death before the fight even begins. The music here is so good. When Grundy is crudely being reanimated like some sort of twisted Sarlacc pit substitute underneath the museum, the music has this industrial sounding clanking noise, like the music is being scored by Grundy's metallic ball and chain attacks. It's excellent and is one of my favourite tracks in the whole soundtrack. We can talk about that more later, but for now, we need to unwake the undead. The fight begins with a pretty simple task: take the generators out, powering them up. And we do just that, using quick-fire explosive gel to take out the 3 generators dotted around the arena, weakening Grundy enough to be able to land a few good hits on him. All this while he swings at us with his ball and chains to try and flatten Batman. The second part of the fight begins when Penguin powers Grundy up even more, and he actually ends up setting him on fire, losing his jacket, and begins glowing blue from the current running through his body. So this section, similar to the last, requires us to take down the 3 generators powering him up, only this time Grundy has new attacks we need to dodge. First of all, he now swings his chains around like a metallic jump rope, and this causes us to be quick on our feet, dodging the chains while making sure we hit the generators with the gel, all while dodging his other new attacks, giant maggots. Grundy, being over a century old, hasn't quite caught up with new hair maintenance techniques, and so giant lice begin dropping from him, which we have to either dodge or hit with a trusty quickfire batarang to vanquish from the arena, before heading towards Grundy to land a few more hits, and seemingly beating him for good. Obviously I'm kidding, of course he's not dead, he's immortal. In fact, he's the only immortal who isn't mid. Immortal Joe's final phase is arguably his hardest despite the fact he's now stationary. We escape his grab and begin working on those generators again. This time though, Grundle McCundle will send out electric shockwaves to hurt us along with his trusty hair lice. Oh, and the generators also deal damage to us now, making us time our explosive gel attacks even better than before to take Grundy down. This is the hardest difficulty spike in the game, taking this pretty easy fight and turning it into a bit of a chess match, timing our moves perfectly to dodge one of Grundy's attacks, and his lack of movement makes this spike all the more surprising, because in theory it should be harder when he can actively chase us down, but no, as we'll come to find out, Arkham City loves subverting our expectations when it comes to the boss fights. They're not all amazing, but this one holds a special place for me, a metallic, heart-pounding culmination to one of the best parts of this game. But before we leave, we still have one more pint-sized problem to put away. After ripping out Grunt to the Hills' heart, Penguin shows up with a noob tube and begins taking shots at us, but he's no match for our elite Movement King playstyle, and he gets put down nearly through the floor, putting Penguin away as we get our good old-fashioned revenge promised at the start of the game. The next thing we know, Batman talks to Freeze about some science, and long story short, we need some of Ra's al Ghul's blood for the cure. It has a binding enzyme in it from the Lazarus Pit, and so after one of Ra's assassins gets annoyed we mentioned his name and escapes from a display case, leaving a trail of blood for us to follow, we have our next objective. But before that, did anyone just hear that gunshot sound? Someone's been shot through the heart and we don't know who to blame. Oh, it's Deadshot in my Arkham game. We find a casing with his name. Oh my god, he's going to kill again. Whoa, with a loaded gun. Yeah, whoa, there's nowhere to run. Jack Ryder might not be having much fun. Shot through the heart and we know who to blame. The only assassin in this game. I play my part and you play your game. The detective section aren't that lame. The detective sections aren't that lame. There's a few targets that you haven't missed. If you had, I'd be pissed. It would render you all show no go. Did you know that you have a black bro? Whoa, you've got a loaded gun. Whoa, we have to run, or best believe that Jack Ryder is done. Shot through the heart in this game for a guy called Deadshot. You can't aim. I play my part and you play your game. This side mission isn't lame. Which is insane. We rescued Ryder from your aim. You left your plan in a bad place. You can't kill Batman or Bruce Wayne, 'cause they're the same guy, you smooth brain. This boss fight is kinda whack, still within a decade that you'll be black. The retcons are insane. Will Smith's to blame. A mid-side mission in a great game. Anyway, enough of that. Arkham loves a detective mode tracking sequence, whether it be Officer Bowles' whiskey in Asylum, Gordon's tobacco in Asylum, Joker's gun earlier, or the assassin's blood here. Arkham uses this feature constantly to move the plot along, and here, given the other huge advancements, it comes across as them not quite knowing what to do with the plot and how to move it along. But here, it does pay off. We chase the ninja across the city using all of the movement in our toolset to track her until we're pinned down, but not before planting a tracker on our ninja, as we're rescued by none other than Robin. Robin is the first member of the Bat family we get to see in our series, a hooded look at a legacy of failure which would be left in the wake of the very introduction of the Bat family in a physical form in the Arkhamverse. This is a criticism which could be levelled at every game in the franchise apart from City. City treats Robin like a big deal, something the coming games would fail to do, and in turn fail the very idea of an ever-expanding family for Batman to grow into and learn to work alongside. Where Arkham City keeps the ball with Robin is that the game demands you respect him. Even for only a short on-screen appearance, the third Robin in the ever-growing line of Robins demands you understand that he isn't a bit part player here. Off-screen, he snuck into Arkham City to drop off the line launcher, our next gadget, a helpful little tool, as is every tool in Batman's arsenal tonight. Bats becomes a one-man armory in this game, preferring the have it and not need it approach over the need it and not have it one. So for the sake of allowing us to move more fluidly throughout the remainder of our time in the big city, I think it's time for a gadget rundown. Say hello to the Rec Gun. The Rec Gun is a gun the same way the Joker 2 is a movie. Yes, they may look the same on the outside, boast similar presentations and similar usages, and even maybe similar sounding, but in reality, they're worlds apart. See, in Traversal, the Rec Gun can be used to open doors, activate generators, hit breakables, send 30,000 volts through unsuspecting Harley Quinn bobbleheads, and perform home invasions. But take a look at its combat and stealth usage and you have a whole new product. The Rec Gun should be called the Get Wrecked Gun, because not only can it induce life-altering electrical currents through a foe's body, but it can send enough force through an armor-wearing thug to send them flying across the room, knocking out not only the unfortunate sap who was hit by the raw electrical energy, but his friends too. It can also scare armed enemies shitless, steal their guns, and most importantly, make them commit accidental homicide. What about the Disruptor? A handy little tool that does more damage than it cares to admit, being able to disable enemies' guns, bombs, and even jammers, all at the low price of a 60-second cooldown. What's more is that this handy little device can be stored in your smallest pocket, allowing for comfortable, quick, and easy access to one of your most reliable weapons. And thanks to our boys in blue and their naturally curious nature, we can go and get a nice little upgrade for the Disruptor which allows for seamless destruction of those who dare oppose Batman's omnipotent gaze, as the Disruptor can now be used to detonate opposing thugs' own minds against them, ensuring the Caped Crusader can commit plentiful war crimes on his quest for justice. Next up, a couple of cold inclusions in our belt. The Freeze Blast and Freeze Cluster. The Freeze Blast allows Batman to harness his inner Ice Age and make enemies as still as the air that radiates from it, allowing for simple takedowns. In Traversal, it allows for steam pipes to be blocked and free reign over the steel mill's treacherous entranceway. The Cluster is a bit more complicated though. Whereas our frozen friend Freeze will give us the blast after beating him senseless, the Cluster has to be found in the depths of the hottest place in Arkham City, the steel mill. How ironic. Harley Quinn even graciously tells us about this as she's tied up and left for whatever reason she's even there, and upon navigating the boiling bowels of the mill, we can gather our new gadget and begin freezing clusters of enemies together, because why not? If you've got it, flaunt it. And finally, how about a more mysterious little number? Something to make sure the thugs of Gotham go crazy. The smoke pellet means Batman can always get out of a tight spot, using the revolutionary power of thick and ominous smoke clouds to create room to breathe. For you at least, as the thugs won't have time to breathe once you've squeezed the life out of them and watched their eyes lose all life. Looking down on them as they realise, not only did they make a mistake being here, the mistake began before they were born. They're your prey, not individual people, but a part of a collective force of evil that must be compromised beyond repair. Anyway, that's all folks. Join us next week as we take a look at the new and improved set of gadgets in Nightwing's utility belt. See you then, same bat time, same bat channel. Arkham City boasts a whole host of new gadgets, and means that the creativity that Asylum hindered by not only its infancy but its straightforward nature is finally unleashed, allowing for basically all of the gadgets and gizmos in Batman's belt of tricks to be used in every facet of the game, whether it be traversal, combat, traversing in combat, or even for some light trolling. Combat is Arkham's biggest crutch. It's revolutionary after all. In 2009, when Joker first opened up those cells and enemies rushed out waiting to be hit, we could have never realised how life-altering Arkham's combat would be. So for the sake of context, let me take you back in time to when Rocksteady were developing free-flow combat. An idea so insane, it might have just changed the history of video game combat. During the development of Batman Arkham Asylum, Rocksteady had initially set out to create a system which lent heavily into the rhythm of fighting, in the same vein as games like Guitar Hero, where the player needed to match coloured tiles to the corresponding buttons to land combos. Does that sound familiar? Well, that very DNA carried over into Asylum's combat, and free flow combat would be born. The very nature of Asylum's combat meant that Batman could seamlessly flow between a room of enemies without need for switching his target manually, turning the usual beat-em-up style of game Batman got into a more fun, expressive way of taking down Gotham's worst. And although the overall feel was great, Rocksteady's first attempt was nothing short of flawed. It had every right to be, after all, they'd tried the impossible and done it, but as with every impossible feat completed, there's always the next impossible feat lying in wait. And this time Rocksteady had made themselves their own worst enemy, the Joker to their own Batman. Because how do you perform two successive miracles? Well, ask Tom Cruise. Then after that you follow in the footsteps of those who came before. You innovate again and again and again, until you create the perfect foil for your own self-inflicted stumbling block. Free-flow combat allowed for Batman to take his rightful place at the side of other revolutionary gaming features. After all, the world's greatest detective couldn't be left out of the annals of the Gaming Hall of Fame. Free-flow did for video game combat what bullet time did for shooters. Often imitated, never replicated, free-flow can be seen in other huge franchises. Mad Max, Spider-Man, hell, anything with a hint of third-person combat has probably spliced some of the Asylum's DNA with it, like its own twisted creation on Isla Nublar. But what the competition never quite understood was the way Free Flow integrated the characters' gadgets and thus their identity into the fighting in a fluid, flashy and manageable way. 2 years on from Asylum, and Free Flow needed to become something more, something bolder, and Arkham City had the chance to do just that. So we land right where we began the video, on the streets of Arkham City, fighting thugs off like the Bat Gods intended. But what's new here? Well, one word: depth. Arkham City's Free Flow Mark II is deep. It takes the very lifeblood of Arkham and infuses it with the depth of the Mariana Trench, and it does this through both increased responsiveness and fluidity. But above all else, it makes you feel like Okay, I'm not going to say that line, but let me show you one of the greatest circus acts of all time. A group of features performing feats never before seen, that make even the Flying Graysons marvel, because this is one of the most impressive balancing acts of all time, but few stick around to see it in its full glory. In fact, many of you at home won't have seen this in its full glory, and let me tell you, you're missing out. I present to you Arkham's greatest trick to date, a feat so impressive that few have replicated it in the near decade and a half since City's inception. So, let the show begin. The responsiveness of the combat serves the fluidity and vice versa. This was imperative to get right because without one, the other simply cannot exist properly, and getting the two to coexist would be harder than ever. And this act all begins with the engagement of the encounter. Choosing your first hit is as important as choosing your last one, to make sure the enemies stay down. Flying in with a running attack ensures you begin on the right foot, the more aggressive approach for the more seasoned player. This sets you off in a combo state, meaning the usual slow start to combat is nullified and replaced with a rapid start and a flurry of attacks at the cost of that all-important time to breathe. And City enjoys making you work for every 3 seconds during combat and not actively landing hits. Take, for instance, Arkham's most useful toy, the Critical Strikes, an upgrade so simple yet so rewarding that it's a miracle we don't take its very existence for granted. It's a rewarding, simplistic, and fine way of letting us breathe in times of stress, slowing us down from the speed of a speeding bullet to that of a freight train. Still fast, but fast and meaningly tactical with our hits, bringing us to a crossroads with each hit landed. Do you trade the combo out for a takedown, mass knockout, or bat swarm, or carry on, building the multiplier higher and higher while keeping your damage at an all-time high through these critical strikes? The beauty of the strikes is that they aim to make you think, prioritise a target, punch, wait, punch. This is City's way of slowing us down and giving us that all-important moment to create some breathing room in the middle of a tense situation, while dealing more damage than ever. That's balance, and that's the act. It turns City's combat from a machine gun flurry of strikes, combined with all of the precision of a Nerf Super Soaker, to a slow shotgun blast combined with the precision of a sniper. However, that's not where the act ends, we're only in the opening phases of it, we're not even warmed up, because Arkham's next phase of attacking prowess is arguably more fun and more simple. Arkham Asylum gave the player choice upon landing 8 successive hits, 5 with an upgrade. Do you go for one specific thug, taking them out of the picture once and for all, or throw one enemy into another, creating some room to think? These were your choices, both useful, but one much more fun than the other. But City expands on this choice and gives you a bigger choice, and thus more expression than ever. Upon hitting that all-important 8 or 5 hit combo, the player is faced with a few options. All come from the upgrade tree, all come at a cost both monetarily and in gameplay. But I like to think of this as more of an investment made with the future in mind than a purchase made through greed. With one Wayne Tech point each, a player can unlock 3 new ways to even the odds, on top of the special combo takedown already available, giving us 4 avenues of attack per combo landed. Now that is a good deal. The special combo takedown is our basic one and done attack. No AoE effects, just one hit and one knockout, taking down one enemy for good no matter their weapon of choice. The Bat Swarm channels the energy of Bat Bale as Batman summons a swarm of bats to daze and confuse the enemy, especially useful when dealing with the Abramovici twins in the Steel Mill and Museum respectively. The multi-ground takedown is arguably the most broken of these attacks, finishing off any enemy who's already been knocked down instantly and without remorse. Combining this with some quick attacks and a bit of luck, and a whole encounter can be ended in anywhere between 6 and 9 hits. The great equaliser in the arsenal, the ace in the hole. And finally, the special Disarm and Destroy allows the player to pick not an enemy, but the weapon they're wielding, to dismantle, rendering it useless to harm the bat with, whether it be bending a steel pipe, taking apart a rifle, or breaking a shield beyond repair. This is one of the most useful and tactically used abilities the Dark Knight has, and all 4 of these special moves come with their own drawback and trade-off, leading us to our next point, the beauty of Free Flow's give and take gameplay. Landing a few hits gives us choice, and with choice comes the realisation that we can't have it all. So what do? That's where the true skill of Arkham's combat comes into play. It makes you think, and in doing so turns you into a more formidable combatant than ever, because after enough time playing with it, it's expected you'll make the right choice every time, morphing you into Batman himself, and over the course of not only the main story but side missions and challenge maps, you'll learn to truly embody the Bat. You have to think like him, learn the trade-offs and advantages of each special combo move, and most importantly, make the right choice based on your situation. 5 enemies on the floor and a combo built up, multi-ground takedown at the cost of leaving too many weapons in the hands of the wrong guys, too many shields and stun batons on the playing field, disarm and destroy at the cost of not actually taking anyone down. Arkham City's combat is revolutionary for so many reasons, but to put all I just said into a few words, it boils down to speed, timing, choice, and fun, and this sentiment could be shared across the whole franchise, but nowhere is this more important than here. In Batman Arkham Knight, the enhanced suits and gadgets means the Bat can jump across the arena at superhuman speeds, and this can make the depth of free flow, well, shallow. Gone is the need to facilitate tactical thought and intelligent positioning, and this means a lot of the depth behind free flow combat can be lost in the neon flashes of violence that fill Arkham Knight's city. But in our city, this couldn't be further from the truth. It's a perfect blend of speed and positioning. Yes, Batman can clear an arena in a few moves, but getting from point A to B while keeping your damage high and combo higher, that's where the real skill comes into it. On the other end of the spectrum, Arkham Asylum focused on the player's positioning heavily. Batman felt weighted to the floor, and often it felt like only the truly focused combatant could be great in the walls of the asylum. But City strikes that balance. A balance no other game in the franchise was able to keep up. But you get the point. Batman Arkham City's combat in many ways is the youngest of the 3 bears, in the sense that it's just right. And in the same way we're no longer rooted to the floor by Asylum's naivety, Arkham City isn't a city anymore. It's a surgical table, and we're the surgeon, picking our tools and performing our feats. But we're not the only surgeon running around the city tonight. Tonight's the night, and it's going to happen again and again. It has to happen. Nice night. Arkham City is a great town. I love the food drops, canned stew, my favourite. But I'm hungry for something different now. I'm hunting a serial killer tonight, a man who takes the human life as nothing more than a piece of the project he's working on. Bodies are a strange thing. Physically they're a person, but behind the eyes now lies nothing. A deadpan look at the end. Something we can all relate to at one point or another because we'll all be there eventually. But tonight my target is elusive. He's taken lives and taken their faces too. This killer is a monster, an unrelenting force of evil who needs to be brought down, a self-absorbed, all-too-grim look at the failings of the human psyche, a psychopath driven by hatred for one group of people, for something that happened to people in their life they loved. Sound familiar? The killer might be us. What would that mean for Gotham, a killer amongst the good guys? Have we been blacking out in our poison-filled state and taking lives? Well, Oracle seems to theorise that very fate for us. Surely the Dark Knight of Gotham, the pillar of human fortitude and willpower we know him to be, hasn't been killing in cold blood without knowing it, has he? No, he hasn't, because we've been with him the whole time. Our Dark Knight passenger has been with us all night, taking down Two-Face, Penguin, rescuing Selina. He's innocent. But track a few more bodies down and find a secret hideout and bam, our prime suspect, Dr. Thomas Elliot, a childhood friend of Bruce Wayne, wants revenge for something, and he's taking faces to make it into someone else's face. Bruce Wayne's. We track the killer down throughout the night, working our way through the streets of the city, cutting through the alleyways and carving a path to find the killer. The only issue is when we find him, he's got us trapped, not in some attempt to chop us into roughly even pieces, but to simply prove a point. The killer isn't here to kill us, we just got in his way, and now he's gone into the night to execute his plan. We might see him again down the road, but we've got more pressing issues at hand at the moment, namely the ninja we needed to follow. Again. The ninja leads us through the city, around the corner of the wall, and straight down into Arkham City's underbelly, a look into the workings of the maximum security prison. Down here we follow the tracker wading through the physical and mental shit that comes with a video game sewer level, and hey look, it's Killer Croc Eyes already gone. I give this game a 3 out of 10. We have to flow with the sewer further and further down into the rotten core of Arkham City, because in all of its greatness it couldn't resist taking us down below, beneath the surface, a trope as old as time. But as we enter the beating heart of the city and find the base of the majestic Wonder Tower, we also find its secondary heart. See, the city has layers, like any good game map. But what makes these layers so satisfying is their light. The rooftops are bright, inviting, and for the most part, safe. The street level is darker, not as inviting, and full of foes to tackle. And the underground, well, see for yourself.
This world is doomed. Cities like Gotham will grow to resemble hell breaking through the sidewalk, continuing up into the sky. Structures will grow to blot out the sun, and the people who live in them will be choked by the pollution they create. Eventually, when no space remains, this world will die, struggling for breath as man's mistakes nail the coffin shut. But this doesn't have to be your future, Gotham. There is a better way. Behind this wall is mankind's chance for survival. A glimpse at a future based on an amazing discovery. A discovery that will allow Gotham to rise like Lazarus, becoming a beacon of hope for this world. Are you intrigued? Then step closer. Witness the future of Gotham City. The heart of Gotham's future beats with Lazarus technology. The power of Lazarus is pumped into every street, every home, providing clean, safe energy. Mechanical guardians will serve you, watch over you, and, where necessary, protect you from the worst of mankind's sins. But most importantly, our beautiful world will survive. Ladies and gentlemen, allow us to present to you The future. Wonder City.
Ah, Wonder City. The sights, the sound, the green. So much green. Arkham's underbelly is as memorable as its outer layer, but for all of the best wrong reasons. Our first hint that something's not quite right is the camera tilting. Do you remember the last time that happened? That's right, last time Arkham tried to scare us silly. Arkham City's hidden world takes us backwards and forwards simultaneously, taking us to a time before Batman, a time before all of this madness. We enter the collapsed street and find Joker's men discussing weapons. They've got some serious firepower here, and it seems it was all supplied by Hugo Strange. But at the moment that's the least of our concerns because we've not got long to live. Our bad blood's going to leave us buried in Arkham City's historic streets if we don't get a move on, but we can take some time to take a tour through the city. Wonder City is a mixed bag of futuristic tech and old world engineering, leaving us at a loss. Whoever built the streets and walls enclosing us knew what they were doing. Wonder City is an architectural marvel, but unlike the world above, it's a technical one too. The steampunk aesthetic sees pipes line the street and buildings. The very fibre of Wonder City allows for the world surrounding us to make these two contrasting aesthetics its own, because it makes the city feel like nothing we've ever seen in these games before. Arkham Asylum was gothic, Night is futuristic, and Origins is snowy. But Wonder City is special. It's everything all at once. It's gothic, steampunk, futuristic, atmospheric. It has it all, and it's all brought to us wrapped in a neat little segment of the game, smack bang in the centre of what's slowly becoming a pretty stale narrative. Wonder City is Arkham City's Lazarus. It brings us back to life, ironic when you consider the king of the city. But what's a king without his guards, his forces to command and unleash wherever he sees fit? Well, that's where the aptly named Wonder City Guardians come in. The seemingly lifeless but also hauntingly alive guards who welcome Batman into their domain. Up there on the surface, he's the protector, the guardian. But down here, that's their job. The door to the city stands like the world's most inviting British pub. Blood lines the door, large keep out tape litters the door's face, and barbed wire is strewn across the top. All of this combining to create an opening to hell itself. Again, ironic when you consider what lives within the city's boundaries. The demon, the mysterious force controlled by Ra's al Ghul, our saviour. What's more is that outside of the front door stands not only the base of Wonder City, the only physical proof to the outside world this place even exists, but a globe, spinning constantly. It doesn't stop. Despite the lights being on and no one being home, this Earth spins forever, Lazarus pumping into it like a messed up allegory for the head of the demon, only churning out breath because Lazarus deems it so. But unlike Ra's, this world is still, dormant, untouched, but like Ra's, it's dead. Speaking of dead, get a load of these guys, throwbacks to a simpler time before the great escalation of video game enemy variety. Before we meet the King of the Kingdom, we meet our parents. A harrowing reminder of our limited time left on this earth. We see the pearly gates. Batman is dying and dying fast. Oracle asks what she should do if he doesn't survive, and this guy just continues like he's not betting his survival on the bones of a former romance. I present to you Arkham City Batman, a character as strong as God, but with the emotional depth of me after Season 4 Episode 12 of Dexter.
You're in the arms of the angel.
A hollowed out and beaten husk, derived of emotion by the events I've just witnessed. Arkham City's rendition of Batman often comes across like he was written by me when I was 12, in a story where Batman fucking kills Bane for no reason. But unlike my fanfiction nonsense when I was 12, Arkham City was written by Paul Dini, the mastermind behind Arkham Asylum, Heart of Ice, and Return of the Joker. This guy knows how to fill Batman stories with emotion, depth, and heart. But this Batman is unmoving, not showing a single bit of worry, desperation, or need to survive until his girlfriend's killed. Don't get me wrong, that's as good a time as any to show Baby's first emotional response, but alas, it makes Batman feel more like a vessel for the story than a character in himself. Not to take away from Kevin Conroy's performance, because God rest his soul, this is a masterclass in stoic Batman. He nails it. As goes for mostly everyone in this game. The voice acting is perfect. Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy still exude that classic on-screen chemistry and charisma which made them the definitive voices of their respective sides of justice, but often, specifically in this game, Batman feels left behind until the final hurdle, when those hours of stoicism break and we see him broken. We're getting ahead of ourselves here, so let's back up and go back down. See, in all of its glory, Wonder City couldn't help but let us down at the final hurdle, because in what was supposed to be its marvellous crescendo, Wonder City becomes the vessel for the Demon Trials. After talking to Talia al Ghul, a love interest for Bruce Wayne we're supposed to care about, Batman has to take on the Demon Trials, a set of trials laid out by her father Ra's to prove Batman as the correct successor and the head of the demon. Batman, in his freakishly stoic desperation, lies to Talia and Ra's to procure some of the oh-so-sweet Mango Loco monster which will bring him back to life. See, me and Batman don't have much in common, apart from the fact we are both 6'3", in times of great need, whether it be 17 pages into a script, or sipping down our last breaths, we both need something more than words of encouragement to keep on keeping on. And if I've learned anything from this video, it's that there is no greater driving force behind determination than the thought of an ice-cold Mango Loco monster. Batman drinks a chalice of that sweet Lazarus juice, and for now at least is cured of his ailments, free to take on all comers in the Demon Trials, a fight for the head of one of the most powerful forces on the planet, a proving ground for the best of the best in order to become the master of the universe, the He-Man of the D-Man. Instead, what lies ahead is nothing short of underwhelming. You remember those AR gliding challenges back above ground, the ones that gave you the grapnel boost? Those short, fun little tests of our ability to control Batman's cape to manoeuvre around the map? Well, say hello to those, but in a different font. Talia tells us that no other man has ever managed to best the Demon Trials, that all before us have fallen. I mean, yeah, no shit, what are the chances they had capes and grapnel guns? Suddenly, one of Arkham's most atmospheric and well-formed locations has become a laughingstock of mechanical failure, because with all of its bravado and lofty ceiling, the Demon Trials remind us that nothing is perfect, nothing is without fault, even Batman Arkham City. Ignoring the fact that the trials were apparently tailored to Batman upon his undertaking of the task, and this becomes derived from hatred for the player, a spit in the face to you, the consumer, because the Demon Trials tire us as soon as they get going. That isn't to say they aren't unique. Ra's sandy escape is one of the most visually haunting and beautiful moments in the whole franchise. Arkham City deconstructed and filled with sand to remind us of the hourglass hanging over us and the city. We still don't have all the time in the world, and with Protocol 10 looming over us in the background, neither does Arkham City. Something we might forget in the coming moments, as after taking on a few sandy samurai, Batman reveals his real motivation for being here. He needs Ra's blood for the cure because after years of Lazarus Pit abuse, it has the right binding enzyme in it to hold Batman and Joker's retribution together. Ra's, however, isn't pleased, Talia less so, and so Ra's dares you to kill him, strike him down, become the head of the demon, and lead the world into a better tomorrow, but Batman simply doesn't kill. Ra's doesn't like this, throws himself into his personal pool of Mango Loco, and engages Batman in combat in his own realm. The Ra's al Ghul boss fight has one Arkham Origins size detractor, because as the years have rolled on, this fight has aged about as well as Ra's would without the Lazarus Pit, that being not very well. Now, do I hate this fight? No. Do I think it's the worst of Arkham City's fights? No. Do I feel a great sense of FOMO for pulling my teeth out when I play this fight? Yes. In fact, I think this fight is my personal least favourite in the game, and this wasn't helped when Slade Wilson took up the contract for the Bat's head a few years on from this. See, Deathstroke's fight in the bowels of the final offer was genius, and that genius was in the simplicity. It was a hand-to-hand fight between two of the best hand-to-hand fighters in the world. Now, imagine, if you will, that fight, but blown out of proportion and comic-ified. There's the Ra's al Ghul fight. Here. Again, I don't hate this fight. It's not my favourite, but for all of its obviously glaring issues, it has so many reasons to love it. The giant fight against an army of racist sand ninjas, the I'm not gonna sugarcoat it counter spam, and the set piece itself. fighting a giant sand wraith is amazing. Okay, maybe your gadgets fight the giant sand wraith, and then when he takes his daughter hostage as a bargaining chip, Batman invents gravity-defying batarangs to knock his ass out. But this fight is cool. Mildly boring on repeat playthroughs, but cool, and a fight I cannot stress is watered down because of Deathstroke, a fight which came directly after it in the series and reused some of its assets. That makes sense, I promise I'm not going insane. Alas, Batman beats the demon as he takes Talia hostage. We rearrange gravitational pulls of the Earth's very atmosphere and knock Ra's out, stealing his blood and saving Talia from the fate of being added to the list of Batman love interests he fails to save. Sorry, Bruce. And getting the hell out of Dodge, returning to the surface to go and give Captain Colt... Wait, no, that joke doesn't work. To go and give Sub-Zero... No, that doesn't work either. Okay, fine. Mr. Freeze, the enzyme for the cure we need to save our lives. Protocol 10 looms over us in the background. Hourly updates from its orchestrator have counted down until now. Down to 2. 2 hours till midnight, and that means 2 hours for us to figure out our impending deaths, alongside stopping the mysterious protocol. As we're soon going to discover, things are about to get much deeper. But before that, we come across Joker's gang taking in new recruits. Because if you remember from earlier, there's a gang war breaking out here soon. A fight for turf in a Mafia meets War Games crossover. See, beneath Arkham's increasingly stale story, a much more interesting story is unfolding. One which I think makes for better content, so let me entertain you like Robbie Williams, that's an Eminem line, and show you the entire Arkham City gang war taking place right underneath our pointy little nose. We start on the streets, where the gangs of Arkham City are playing their own little version of Risk, but with more bullets and fewer rules. At the bottom of the pile we have Two-Face. Poor Harvey's running the most underwhelming operation this side of a Gotham cosplay convention. His gang controls a courthouse and a couple of alleyways, basically the equivalent of flipping a Monopoly board after only buying Baltic Avenue. He captures Catwoman to look tough, which is adorable, but then Batman drops in and ruins his whole edgy execution vibe. Harvey vanishes, probably into a dark corner to practice flipping coins and blaming other people for his problems. Meanwhile, Joker is painting the town red, mostly with blood. His crew stretches across half of the city like someone spilled a ball of clowns over the map. He sets up shop in the steel mill surrounded by enough explosives to make a Michael Bay film blush. His gang is wild, violent, and barely held together by Harley Quinn's motivational speeches and questionable fashion choices. They are everywhere and nowhere all at once. The freeway, the amusement mile, the back alleys of your nightmares, but for all of their numbers, they're spread thinner than the plot of a mid-season CW show. Then there's Penguin. If this was a game of rock, paper, scissors, Penguin's the guy who brings a gun. He's got money, muscle, and the kind of military-grade gear you'd expect in the bedroom of someone who calls their PC a battle station. His crew is sharp, trained, and mean. He runs the Bowery like it's a fortress, complete with landmines and a gladiator pit, because why not? He even kidnaps Mr. Freeze, which should have been a power move until Batman crashed the party, ruins the decor, and puts Penguin on the side of a milk carton. Cue the escalation. Penguin, in a last-ditch effort, blows up the old Gotham freeway like a sore loser, trying to block Joker from pushing into his turf. Joker's guys make it through because of course they do, they're Joker's guys, and they start sniffing around Two-Face's territory, but Harvey's boys have already taken to the rooftops, safely out of reach and frankly out of options. And then, as if the gang war wasn't messy enough, enter Hugo Strange and his little rocket party, Protocol 10. Missiles fall from the sky like he's won a kill streak. A quarter of the prison's population gets wiped out in the chaos. The gangs, the inmates, the map itself, it all burns. Batman shuts it down eventually, but not before the whole chessboard flips. After that, it's clean-up time. Spoiler alert, Joker dies. Harley tries to pick up the pieces of her empire, but ends up playing second fiddle in her own tragedy. She makes one last move in the shipyard, gets stomped by Batman and Robin, and the curtain falls while nearly adding the Boy Wonder to Joker's list of dead Robins. Two-Face crawls out of whatever sewer he was sulking in and claims the museum, now free real estate thanks to Penguin's earlier eviction. He struts around like the big man on campus right until Catwoman strolls in and tears his gang apart for the second time. Harvey runs again. He flipped a coin twice and he lost twice, how ironic. But what about Penguin, I hear you ask? Well, he's still locked up in the icebox, grumbling and plotting. But his guys are still out there, selling weapons, making money, and staying dangerous, because if you can't win the war, at least get paid. Eventually, they all end up under Scarecrow's umbrella when a new villain crashes the party. Two-Face's boys are tougher, Penguins are better armed, and Harley's, well, they still show up. Sort of, anyway. But in the end, if you're keeping score, and someone is always keeping score, Two-Face technically won the gang war. Gang wars put to bed, Strange tells us there's a new visitor entering the facility, the former warden of Arkham Asylum, the sharpest portrait of failure we ever observed and the political pawn behind Arkham City, Quincy Sharp. Batman rescues Quincy from a Sharp welcome and begins interrogating him. Sharp tells Batman that Strange came to him back at the asylum and told him he has very powerful friends, the sort of people who could get shit done. All Sharp had to do was let Strange carry on his twisted experiments and turn a blind eye, with Strange ensuring Sharp won his bid for mayor, using the so-called friend of his in return. Sharp doesn't know who the friends are, but they funded everything here, and all Sharp had to do was put Strange in charge of Arkham City, free to enact Protocol 10 out once everyone was behind bars. Batman thanks Sharp for his cooperation and is hounded by Oracle, rightly so, that he doesn't have very long to live, he is still dying, and so should haul his ass over to GCPD to deliver the binding enzyme to Freeze, or again, he will die. On our way to GCPD, we can see something, a question we alluded to at the start of the video. That question being, how do you make collecting trophies in video games fun and rewarding? Well, I have the answer, and that answer is another question, the Enigma conundrum. After his little collectathon on Arkham Island, the Arkham community needed more Riddler content. That's right, they were begging for it. They were on everyone's soul, bring back the Riddler. Okay, not quite, but alas, here he is. Edward Nashton, aka Edward Nigma, aka Enigma, aka the Riddler. Okay, so as per Riddle etiquette, Eddie's placed... Wait, how many trophies? Sorry, did you say 440? As in 440? Oh, God almighty. Slightly egregious, but we'll work through them after he's outlined his plan for us. The Enigma conundrum is classic Riddler. He wants to prove he's smarter than Batman, and does this by boring him to death and striking when the iron's hot. We have to collect all 440 of these trophies, split not so evenly between our two playable protagonists, Batman and Catwoman. Riddler has taken the church and taken hostages, as he likes to do. As we work our way through the Riddler's trophy ocean, we get brief spells of dry land by the way of Eddie's saw traps. Oh, Doctor, you stood on a bee in 2004, get ready for hot lava to the urethra. Eddie's traps range from elaborate death rooms full of electrical floors, to human-sized shell games, all the way to probably one of the creepiest visuals in the franchise, as people are chained to a moving floor and made to keep walking lest their head be blown off. Between each room we also get a cute little Riddler box, which range from easy to easier, because these riddles are multiple choice, which is incredibly funny lore-wise to think Riddler hinges his plan to outsmart Batman, and incentivises him to complete his challenges by taking hostages, which can be found by completing a multiple choice riddle. Oh, Eddie, never change. The riddle challenges in the open world provide us with cool lore as per usual, with riddles pertaining to Maxie Zeus, the Flying Graysons, and Cadmus Labs? Damn, that's a deep cut for the average Arkham fan. I'm kidding, of course, but Riddler's actual riddles are great as per usual. The trophies are everywhere. They're on rooftops, on the street, in buildings, under cars, next to points of interest, in your ass. Seriously, check. They're everywhere, and for the most part, they're fun to find. Some are a pain, but mostly they challenge your knowledge of the world, your gadgets, your movement skills, and basically everything in between. Riddler has another extremely fun outing in Arkham City, and despite being second to the punch of discovering Batman's identity... Wait, no, third. No, wait, he's never found out, did he? Loser. But despite the overload of Riddler content, it's fun, it's well integrated, and you'll complete a fair chunk of it throughout the main story if you look for it. Eddie, baby, you'll always have a special place in my heart. Speaking of hearts, mine's getting a little cold talking about all of this mental warfare. Well, we made it to the GCPD. Finally, we get our hands on the cure. It's what I would be saying if Mr. Freeze wasn't such a whiny baby freezing bitch boy. Now, watch this scene and tell me if you find anything wrong with it.
Impressive, Batman. I doubted you would actually return.
I'm a man of my word, Victor. You should know that by now.
formula is complete. The bonding process appears to have been successful. How are you feeling? You look unwell.
Give it to me.
I'm afraid I cannot do that, Batman. You have given me your last order.
This is not a time for negotiation.
I think it is. The clown has my wife. Bring her back to me.
You don't want to do this, Freeze.
Oh, I believe I do. You will bring me Nora, or you will die.
So, Batman returns, telling Victor he's a man of his word, and instead of giving him the cure, Freeze tells Batman he's done taking orders and smashes one of the vials of the cure in front of Batman, trying to negotiate with him to go and get his wife Nora Freeze from Joker's grasp. And he does this by keeping Batman in a state of near death. He just acknowledged Batman looked unwell and comes to the conclusion the best way to keep him in check and fit enough to go and rescue his wife from the Joker of all people was to break one of the cures in front of him and lock the other in a safe. Now, why would Victor Freeze, a renowned scientist who spent his recent adult life working to keep his dying wife alive, gamble that same life on a man who is dying and can be saved by him, and then actively decides not to save him? He also knows Batman keeps his word, as proven by the recent events like saving him from Penguin, and the fact he just said he keeps his word, and Victor is told he should know this by now, hinting at the fact Freeze may have had doubts about Batman before which were proven wrong. Freeze acts like an irrational dumbass here, taking the path of most resistance humanly possible, when all he needed to do was give Batman the cure, let him stop Joker and Protocol 10, which we can assume will be wrapped up in the next 2 hours of in-game time, probably less since Batman would be at full health, and then wait for him to go and save Nora, or better yet, cut out the middleman, give Batman the cure to go and stop Joker and Strange, and then find Nora and go and rescue her himself, since he has a fully working suit of armour which is armed to the teeth with cryogenic weapons. This isn't the thought process of a man of science and logic. This is the thought process of a moron. I get being desperate to save his wife from Joker, but you'd have to imagine Freeze's chance of beating Batman here was slim anyway, after Batman told him, and I quote, "You don't want to do this, Freeze," implying if Freeze tried to fight him, Batman, not in the mood to waste time and knocking on heaven's door, would be as quick and effective in taking down Freeze as possible, as if he drags anything out from here on in, he will almost most definitely be dead by the end of the night. Added on to that, what was Freeze's plan when he beat Batman? He fights him because he wants him to go and save his wife, but what if he actually did beat Batman here? After all, he's in a weakened state and could drop dead at any point. Was his plan to send an already beaten and dying Batman to save his wife from, again, the Joker of all people? Would he have beaten him and then given him the cure, sending a beaten Batman into the belly of the beast, which would have drastically reduced his chances of saving Nora? Or, as we know happened, Harley steals the cure, meaning if Mr. Freeze actually beat Batman here, he wouldn't have even been able to save him, meaning Batman dies in the GCPD, Freeze is left to get Nora back on his own, and Joker is restored to full power with no Batman to stop him, meaning that in an ironic twist of fate, Mr. Freeze, the guy who does his crime for a pretty good reason, and is one of Batman's most sympathetic villains, would be solely responsible for countless needless deaths in both Arkham City and outside of it, because Joker would be unstoppable by conventional means, i.e. the Bat family. Welcome to Earth 467, a world where Batman stories play out slightly differently, and all stories, even small side missions, have dramatic title cards. This is a world where Mr. Freeze sends Batman to get Nora after giving him the cure, because he's a man of science and logic. Batman knows Nora is in the dock somewhere and tracks her to Warehouse 5B of the Falcoat shipping warehouses. Batman uses his newly gifted Freeze Blast to create a raft, breaks into the warehouse, and finds Nora being guarded by thugs playing rock, paper, scissors. Batman takes the thugs down in record time, confirms Nora's safety, and sends her location to Freeze. Later on, after the story's over, Batman can find Freeze's path to Nora, which he created using his free gun. That right there is environmental storytelling at its finest. That brings our fleeting time on Earth 467 to an end. Thank you for joining me in So after that little multiverse trip to Earth 467, that brings us to our only logical next step of Arkham City's constant redemption for an increasingly shoddy story through stellar gameplay, the best boss fight in the game. Ignoring the really odd setup and ramifications of failure for Batman, this fight is a masterclass in game design. It takes you, the player, and puts them in Batman's shoes, having to use his smarts and all of his gadgets to take Freeze down. See, Freeze isn't just any old bear, he's smart. And with those smarts, he will actively adapt to your gameplay. If you plan on spamming silent takedowns on him, then good luck with that, because Freeze will let you hit him once and never again. He'll activate jets on his back, rendering that method of attack useless. The same goes for every other method of attack, meaning you'll have to get creative and dig deep to beat Freeze here, using everything in your arsenal, which you'll need to do, because on easy you need to hit Freeze 3 times, normal requires 5 separate moves, hard requires 8, and New Game Plus requires a massive 9 different moves, and the moves you can have at your disposal are as follows: Disruptor, Magnet, Silent Takedown, Great Takedown, Window Takedown, Overhead Takedown, Ledge Takedown, Drop Attack, Line Launcher Takedown, Glide Kick, Explosive Gel, and Electrocution. Meaning there are 12, yes, that's right, 12 different ways to deal damage to Victor, which might sound like a lot, but that's where the game's balancing comes into play. On easy, you'd assume the player has limited knowledge or ability of Batman's potential, so basically anything they try will damage Freeze. On normal, the same sentiment applies, except the player begins to have to think about what their next move is. On hard and New Game Plus, you'd assume the player is more seasoned and has a good knowledge of Batman's arsenal and moves, and so they have to delve deeper in the utility belt and begin getting more creative. More Batman-like. Oh, and did I mention if you play with your favourite toy, Detective Mode, too much, Freeze will jam it, rendering it useless and taking away your best tool to find him? You can also use the environment to lure Freeze into traps by breaking the Nora statues, and using your own body heat to manipulate Freeze into going where you need him to for the next takedown, or even using his own gadgets against him by faking your location, using his drones which will scan for you and attack you, but if before Freeze finds you, you run away and reposition, you can use this to your advantage. See, Mr. Freeze is the only fight in Arkham City which doesn't come down to Batman's abilities. It comes down to yours and your know-how of the game's systems and mechanics, which sets Freeze aside from every other fight in the whole franchise, because put simply, no other fight puts you and Batman in the same shoes this overtly. Mr. Freeze is one of the greatest examples of Rocksteady's plan to make Arkham City bigger and more immersive than ever. It's a shining display of game design and one of the most memorable parts of the franchise as a whole. After beating Freeze, Batman hallucinates Joker in the suit and realises he's still dying and still needs to get a move on. He heads to the safe and grabs the cure to find that it's been taken. Harley Quinn took it. Freeze tells Batman to get a move on and get revenge on Joker for what he's done to them. I must stress, them. Like, he didn't just try and kill Batman. Batman leaves the GCPD's back door as gnome reporter Vicky Vale's helicopter is blown out of the sky by Joker after receiving a mystery tip-off that Batman was in the old police HQ. I wonder who that could have been from. This cuts her broadcast short right in the heart of Arkham City. Joker sends a hit squad who've positioned themselves on top of Dini Towers, a nod to Paul Dini, writer of Arkham Asylum City and tens of other iconic Batman stories, as the other snipers take position on the Kirshen building, which from my research is a nod to executive producer of Arkham City, Origins and Night, as well as a plethora of other superhero games, Amos Kirshen. Batman takes them out and rescues Vale before we cut away to a madman wearing a hat. Interesting. Joker tells Batman he orchestrated Vale's spiral out of control to ensure Harley Quinn got back to the steel mill with his cure, and if Batman's good, he'll give him some too. But we've got good news from none other than Alfred. Alfred tells us that between him and Lucius Fox, head of Wayne Tech's R&D department, they've discovered a cure and it's been manufactured and sent en route to Batman as we speak. Yippee! We can finally get the cure, heal up, head to the steel mill, stop Joker, and stop Protocol 10. Oh, God. Where are we now? Oh, it's Mad Hatter. Okay, Jervis made us see what we wanted most, which was obviously the cure. After all, that was our next stop, to get the cure. So it makes sense that what Batman wanted most in the world at that moment was the very thing that could save his life. Jervis tells us we'll do as he commands once we have his special hat. We don the hat, but not for long, Batman ripping away from its control before finding himself tumbling down the rabbit hole on a giant watch, falling further into madness with each passing second. We take down the thugs in a simple but timely manner and avoid Jervis's lunge attacks before finally getting our hands on him, stopping his hat down and knocking him out. The visuals here are so freaky and the overall feel of this mission is just top notch. It's presented in a very hypnotic way, the clock falling and falling as we fight off Jervis's control, and the mind control thugs are great. And above all else, it really puts into perspective how well the different shorter side missions are handled in this game specifically. It wasn't just a fight in a room against these thugs, it was a fight for sanity as we fell deeper into insanity. And that's great and all, but we take Jervis out and go after the real cure. The steel mill, the smell of boiling metal, the sights of Joker memorabilia, and the sounds
He
He looked like poison crap. Today, all good.
So did he find the cure or what?
Don't know. Last thing I heard was the doctors couldn't save him. Quinn even had me torture some lady doctor to find a cure.
What did she say?
Right up to the moment she died, she was still saying there was no cure. After that, not so much.
Well, who cares? He's back. The Joker's back.
Oh no, that doesn't sound good. It sounds like Joker's already had his sip of the cure. That's really not good. Alas, we have to find a new way into the mill, which involves taking out an armed patrol and breaking in the back door. We find our way in and talk to Oracle, who informs us her dad, Commissioner Gordon, has been summoned to City Hall and that Strange is requesting Emergency Protocol 10 be activated. He's blaming it on the criminals housed within the city getting their hands on too many high-grade illegal firearms, and are planning an escape and attack of Gotham. This was all obviously partially true. The inmates do have illegal weapons and Joker is planning a prison break. But what Strange failed to tell the High Council was that he gave them the weapons to stage this whole operation. But still, all anyone knows is Protocol 10 is worst case scenario for Arkham City. The last resort should anything go wrong, and things are going wrong. We use the freeze blast to create rafts to navigate the tunnels of the steel mill, take out some thugs, and Joker plays a very interesting broadcast. He's healthy, he says he's back for good, looking better than ever, but someone's coughing behind the camera. Something isn't quite right here. With the word of Joker's health improvement spreading like wildfire around the mill, his gang have an uptick in confidence. After all, their boss is back. But all that comes to a head when we meet Joker in the funhouse.
Where is it?
Manners cost nothing, Batman. A please wouldn't go amiss. I mean, if you wanted to be cured so badly, you only had to ask. It looks like I need to teach you some respect.
There's nothing you can teach me, Joker.
Oh, come on.
This scene is what the kids describe as absolute cinema, from beginning to end. A showcase of the masterful storytelling Rocksteady can achieve when put to the sword by their own lofty heights. Because here there are enough hints and little tricks planted for us to solve the big twist at the game's climax, but not enough to be overtly revealing. That's not a mirror. Joker has no skeleton. Also, look at this broadcast.
About. Would you be happy?
Ooh, I do love a bit of hinting. Perfect. Just perfect. Some call Arkham City's foreshadowing lazy on repeat playthroughs. I call it genius because it's all right there. Every piece of the puzzle is there. Maybe you won't figure out the whole twist, but the bones, unlike Joker's, are there. Joker isn't Joker, he's someone or something else. Either that or there are 2 Jokers on the loose. Thank God there isn't 3, am I right? This scene is genius, but what's better is the combat section right after. It's the final giant combat section of the game, a culmination of your skills, a titan, a sickle, and latex. Sounds like my kind of night, but here we get to show off a bit, flex our muscles and our combined skill, because Batman Arkham City still wants to let you know it's here to stay. If the Joker were to have a true boss fight in this game, this is it. You fight him, you fight his strongest men, he takes his best shot, and something hits. Batman's down for the count, Joker's ready to put him down, but Talia lends a hand, telling Joker she'll be his hostage and give him the key to immortality. Batman irrationally confirms her promise. Talia shows Batman the tracking device he used earlier on the ninja, telling him to follow his heart. Batman can track her, she's in Joker's hands now, but she's not done for just yet. Meanwhile, Batman's down for the count, but at this point, who isn't? Well, Catwoman's back for round 3. She's about to break her way into Hugo Strange's vault. A hop, a skip and a jump, and are in the sewers and in the shit deeper than before. Strange's vault needs 3 keycards to open, and here we get our first real Catwoman stealth section. Not the guys guarding Ivy, this time is for real. Catwoman is quite interesting in a stealth scenario because she isn't as conventionally quick as Batman. Her takedowns are unpredictable, and because of that she can be a pain to play as. Don't get me wrong, her stealth is fun, but not Batman levels of satisfying. Since Catwoman can't reach gargoyles as quickly, and so Rocksteady realise she needs another escape route, she can climb onto ceilings using her claws. A fun addition, different, I quite like it. After stealing all of the key cards, we need to take the guards down, who are now at full attention, and this increases the difficulty tenfold. There's no grace period here to take down a few before they're hunting you. That was before, this is now. A tight enclosed room, you and them, and unlike your big bad bat buddy, you don't have the tools at your disposal to take 4 of them down before they know what hit them. You have to work like The Undertaker and go in old school, go back to basics, and I'm not talking about Kanye's bonus track. I'm talking about silent takedowns, vent takedowns, and if you're feeling risky, and how could you not be feeling risky, this is your prison now, even as Catwoman your confidence should be through the roof. So you can get creative and get into the vault. But before we can, 3, 2, 1, scorched earth. Protocol 10 has begun, and the first target, the steel mill. That explains why our Dark Knight is down. Strange targets the mill to try and kill both Batman and the Joker in one swoop. Obviously it fails, and after getting into the vault and grabbing our loot, we leave Arkham City, leaving Batman to his own devices, because like Selina says, he won't die, it's Batman, right? So thank you for watching, like, subscribe, because we're aiming for 5k subs by the end of this year, and I hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.
Screw him.
Protocol 10 has begun, and the first target, the steel mill. That explains why our Dark Knight is down. Strange targets the mill to try and kill both Batman and Joker in one swoop. Obviously it fails, and after getting into the vault and grabbing our loot, we leave Arkham City, leaving Batman to his own devices because, like Selina says, he won't die. It's Batman, right? Well, this just can't end like this. Selina goes back for Batman, leaving her loot and heading back into Arkham City to save the Dark Knight. Selina gets to the steel mill and rescues Batman, pulling him from the rubble as he thanks her in the only way he knows how. Endless gratitude. But now we have to get serious. In what I can only describe as the coolest bit of gameplay in the whole series, the main theme begins playing. Choppers fill the sky, firing missiles down at the inmates of Arkham City. Thousands are being killed. Strange's plan is in full effect. Batman tells Oracle to shut Arkham City down. Protocol 10 is worse than he thought, but not bad enough to divert his full attention to, because Talia is in the last place anyone would want to be, in the hands of Mr. J, and she needs saving. Oracle fights back, telling Bruce he can't go after Talia because she needs his help shutting down Arkham City. Alfred tells Batman to think this through as he begins activating Talia's tracker, but the connection fails. Bruce tells Alfred to reroute all Wayne Tech satellites to track Talia, but Alfred, being the voice of reason, tells Batman he can't do that, and deep down, he knows Alfred is right. Batman can't let all of these people die to save one life. Batman orders Oracle to not lose Talia's signal as he begins trying to find the master control program on top of the helicopters raining down fire to get into Undercity and stop Protocol 10. Then he'll go after Joker. This scene is perfection. It shows Batman's human side, his irrationality when faced with the thought of losing one he holds close, and it's great. We see him falter. He was genuinely going to sacrifice countless lives to save one he loves, but still, one. For a moment, even if just for 30 seconds, Batman had dared to abandon his mission, to stray off the path he'd made for himself and abandon Gotham to chaos. It's beautiful. Alfred and Batman even butt heads here in an exchange which becomes so much more impactful after the release of Batman Arkham Origins. It shows that despite Bruce's development, he still tries to control the uncontrollable. He and Alfred butt heads when the two disagree. They are, after all, father and son above all else. Alfred's level-headedness ultimately saves Arkham City, Gotham, and Batman. Because when the dust had settled, could Batman live with knowing he let all of those people die? I don't think so. We see how he feels after failing to save Joker come the night's end. I love this scene, the emotional depth, the swelling main theme. It's my favourite in the game and it never fails to give me goosebumps. However, I have an issue with it. As cool and rousing as it is to see all of this play out, nothing happens. Protocol 10 doesn't satisfyingly bring the night's suspense to a controlled end. It brings it to a whimpering falter, and let me tell you why. Protocol 10 simply doesn't work in gameplay. We see it happening, but 25 dead bodies and some lifeless explosions don't bring the player to their natural feeling of failure. Like, you fail to stop an atrocity, you fail to stop 25 nameless goons die, and maybe fail to stop a few helicopters exploding PNG rockets on the ground. For all of its build-up, Protocol 10 doesn't feel dangerous. It feels limp. We can explore Gotham freely with no time restriction. We can still let hundreds die and be none the worse off. This could be put down to technical limitations, but surely there were better ways to show Arkham City being brought to its knees than this. This isn't what we wanted to see. It doesn't make the player feel bad for failing, it makes them feel like this is another weak story beat. In theory, this should have been the explosive climax, a monument to Batman's failure, and when all was said and done, it felt more like a slow and disappointing climax to a night of pretty okay sex. But we need to find that master control program, and the only way to do that is to hang off the bottom of these helicopters long enough to scan them for codes. We get them, break into Wonder Tower, and get another moment of Arkham City at its finest.
Stop right there, Batman. We need to talk. And I know you wouldn't be able to live with yourself if your actions caused this poor man to die. I have a question for you. Before my arrival, this city was drowning under a tide of filth. Have you ever considered that all this is your fault? Your presence creates these animals. Like germs, they spread. You created the environment that allowed the germ to mutate, to become stronger. Look at the Joker. Would he even exist if not for you? It must be depressing. All your sacrifices, and yet you are the one to blame. Oh, this is beautiful. We have at long last defeated the great Batman. Soon, I will take my rightful place at my master's side. We will rule over this world. So thank you, Batman, for all your help. Now, kill him.
Hugo Strange felt like a bit of an afterthought for most of the story, the Cure taking centre stage, and this speaks to a wider issue we'll cover in a second, but for now, we need to appreciate the greatness of this moment. Strange is a character we don't hear much from following the opening credits scene, a line here or there, but it's in one of his final appearances he shines. He begins breaking Batman down mentally, evaluating him and putting his name into practice. He comes across like a professor doing his job, calling Batman out on his role in creating Gotham's criminal elite. He blames the sea of filth the city was drowning in on Batman, blames the Joker's very existence on Batman, and positions himself as the saviour once again. This isn't Strange trying to kill the Dark Knight, he's trying to break him, make him question his own mission and the job he's doing. He marks Batman as a kind of crime-fighting Ouroboros, a self-devouring snake of ancient Greek and Egyptian myth, which eats its tail and becomes reborn from itself, laughing at him for fighting for all of these years, while being the direct reason the things he fights against exist. It all circles back to escalation. Batman upped the ante when he began crime fighting in combat armour. Jonathan Crane began using widespread fear toxin. Joker's schemes got more elaborate as Batman became more inevitable. The arms trade running through Penguin's front door increased as protection from Batman, putting more and more guns in the hands of criminals. Riddler kept upping his attempts to outsmart Batman. It all comes back to him. It begins and ends with Batman, and in a way, Strange is right. Would Joker even bother if Batman wasn't around? Obviously the crime bosses would continue operating, but they operate with a level of respect, class, tradition, not blowing up people's heads using implanted bombs or killing babies. Batman might be to blame for this endless cycle of escalation, and so ultimately, Strange is right. Looking at Batman objectively and not through the eyes of a fan of the character, and it's easy to see why the people of Gotham would fear him and become disgruntled with him. He creates the very thing he swears to destroy. He stops it too, but how many lives need to be lost before that cycle ends, before someone dies? And at that point, would it be too late? If Batman dies and the supercriminals are left free, all hell will break loose. It's such an interesting scene and shows Arkham City and, most importantly, Hugo Strange at their best. And, oh, did I mention he says something about taking his place at the side of his master? Yeah, I'm not really sure what that's all about. Anyway, in our next stealth encounter, Strange boasts about the success of Arkham City, congratulating his brainwashed army for their completion of their task, and begins talking about opening new prisons in the same vein as Arkham, in Metropolis and Keystone to wipe out their criminals too. Hugo's plan is vast. It requires vast amounts of money, influence and power. But if it works, if Protocol 10 succeeds, the public will laud Strange, congratulate him for making Gotham safer. They'll turn on Batman. Strange will have killed the seemingly unkillable criminal contingent of Gotham. Hell, he'll have gone scorched earth on Arkham and be heralded as a hero among the people. He speaks as if a casualty rate of 22% is a success, as if killing all of those people is a good thing. Batman begins scaling Wonder Tower, dying. He's still poisoned, but he can't give in now. Strange cannot win tonight. Missiles strike the museum, the courthouse, all in pursuit of a twisted idea of peace and future prosperity. Batman makes it to the top of the world. See what I did there? And we engage in the greatest and worst stealth encounter in the game, and dare I say, the series? Welcome to top of the world. A culmination of your Predator skills, your abilities, and your knowledge. This room isn't any old stealth encounter. To some, this is the measuring stick for your abilities. This is the Champions League final of stealth rooms. 6 hostiles, all armed, all kitted out with everything they can use to stop you. Mines, body armour, heat-seeking goggles, shotguns, strategy, they have it all. And well, so do you. You have your wits and your gadgets, but no easy strategy, no gargoyle to fall back on except the ones outside, providing plentiful movement options but very little in terms of attacking options. This is where you need to think for yourself. At the centre of the room lies what all of this comes down to. Hugo Strange. Strange will alert the guards of your position, ratting you out while you try batting them out. This room is a microcosm for Arkham City. Strange watching you while you run around performing inhuman feats of strength, watching your every move. This room is Arkham City at its best in terms of gameplay. A short and sweet coincidence of gameplay mixing with just the right amounts of stealth espresso, and please, please, please don't tell me I'm overhyping this room. I might not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but this room holds a special place in my good graces, and despite the slim pickings of usual ways to approach it, its unusual nature forces it to be great. I feel like I've gone a bit dumb and poetic over this room, but it's that damn good. So don't smile because it's over, smile because we got to play it. I love it, it's great. Finally, we break into Hugo Strange's office. This is it.
You have not won. You cannot win. I, Hugo Strange, am your successor. I have saved Gotham.
Oracle, shut this place down.
My pleasure.
You've ruined everything. Get your hands off me.
Look at what you've done.
It's glorious, isn't it?
You're finished, Strange.
I have powerful friends, Batman. This is just the beginning. You cannot stop me. Soon I will command forces beyond your comprehension. I have achieved what the great Batman could never do. Gotham will forever thank Hugo Strange!
Your part in this is over, Professor Strange.
Why? I did everything you wanted.
Indeed. You clearly demonstrated that Batman is better than you. Let him die, Detective.
He was your puppet, Raish. Why?
You said I could replace you. This was our vision.
And you failed to see it through.
But...
when you came to me with Batman's identity, I gave you this chance to prove your worth, providing you with limitless resources for your plan. You came close, but you have failed me.
He's going to die, Raish. He needs medical attention. Now!
Do as you wish, Detective. He's already dead to me.
I'm so close. Just give me more time.
Too late. I don't give second chances. This is a good day, Detective.
Good? People are dying.
The world will not miss them. Why should you? Look at my work. You may have defeated Strange, but this is just the beginning. Come with me. We will wipe this world clean.
Never. You're wrong, Raish. You've become what you've always fought against. And I will stop you.
I doubt it.
Computer, activate Protocol 11.
What are you doing?
Passcode Wayne. No!
Get out of there!
One plate broken, one still spinning. God, I love me a good twist. But was this a good twist? The general consensus is no, it's not. It diminishes Strange and once again puts him on the back burner. This should have been Hugo's time to shine, but again his light was snuffed out. What makes this twist so strange, no pun intended, but also completely intended, is the complete contradiction of Raish's ultimate goal, which is to purify the world through the killing of criminals. Now, on the surface, it makes sense, thousands of criminals dead in one night. In theory, though, this is a side quest for him, a senseless show of power, which in the grand scheme of things achieves ultimately, well, nothing. We also all seem to forget that we beat Raish earlier, but Ra's al Ghul is immortal, his methods supernatural. His appearance here just seems off. Making a person you've already defeated the mastermind behind the plot does have some dramatic effect, but doesn't make him as intimidating as he should be at the reveal, since you know Ra's and his assassins aren't a threat to Batman, they're a fetch quest in a string of them. Is the twist impactful? Yes. Is it poor? Yes. Arkham City had to be brave enough to pull the trigger on Hugo Strange being the sole mastermind. It had to justify its own self-worth, but sadly, it didn't. It couldn't go through with it for what I believe are two reasons. The first being they needed a law reason to justify the sheer amounts of money that would be needed to create Arkham City and hire Tiger and all of the other residual costs that come with building a super prison. And the second, well, it's much more upsetting. The second reason is that I don't think Rocksteady put enough faith in Hugo Strange as a character being enough to carry the plot alongside Joker. We have to remember that up until this point, Strange wasn't a mainstream Batman villain, Arkham City was his coming out party, and sadly it didn't end with fireworks. Okay, well it kind of did, but you get the sentiment. TLDR should have given Strange more time in the limelight. As we hit the floor, we're faced with our final mission. Get the cure and stop Joker from becoming mid. Sorry, I meant immortal.
How does it feel, Wayne, to stand on the very stones that ran with your parents' blood? Do you feel sad, full of rage? Or does that outfit help bury your feelings, hiding your true self? Oh, you are a truly extraordinary specimen. I look forward to breaking you.
Strange's parting gift to us, a look back at where it all began, a stark reminder of how he knew Bruce better than almost anyone in the world, and well placed because this is the beginning of the end for someone. Talia, Payoso Loco, the Bat, someone will die. Strange leaves a mark on us even after his death. He lingers around us, but tonight we need to make sure that his memory is one of failure. And the final stamp on that, well, of course, it has to take place here. It's only fitting it ends here. We need to rescue Talia, we need to rescue ourselves, and we need to rescue the Joker.
Hurry up and take your seat, Batman. The show's about to begin.
Let's just talk about this.
Now you want to talk. Too late, Batman. Give me the cure!
But you've already got the cure. Talia, no!
Problem solved.
You didn't need to.
Why? You would never do it. You left me no choice.
There's always a choice.
I had to save you. Harley Quinn stole it for him. I took it back. It's over.
Surprise! is!
Oh, Mr. J, you look perfect.
Ring, ring! So how do you keep a secret from the world's greatest detective? Well, do you know? You stick it right in front of him, right under his long, pointy nose, and wait.
Joker wants you to think he's sick. Then wham! Gotcha.
You fell for the old fake Joker gag, Batman.
Talia!
Oh. I'm sorry, beloved. I didn't know.
Encore! More! Bravo!
It was never you.
Not always. Well, sometimes. Confusing, isn't it? I know I'd want to know just what the hell is going on if I were you. Let's just say, at times like these, it's important to keep up appearances. But first, if you would be so kind, hand over my cure. Ladies and gentlemen, for one night only, standing in for yours truly, and doing a damn fine job of it, I give you Clayface.
You weren't even supposed to be in here, Carlo. Why sign up with Joker?
The role of a lifetime!
It all makes sense. Harley told us this at the start. It wasn't Joker. Well, most of the time. Hell, Joker told us. We fell for the old fake Joker gag. And what a gag it was. Arkham's Achilles heel, a well-executed twist, had become its crowning moment, its magnum opus. From one lacklustre twist to one which stunned the world. It had it all, the ups, the downs, and were left standing on stage without a joke up our sleeve. Talia killed at the hands of the Joker, and the other one? Well, he's got the cure. The cure Joker demands we hand over. Joker's play for immortality. He wouldn't risk that in a fist fight with Batman. He's learned, and he learned well. You don't use your ace in the hole until you need to, and when you do use it, you make sure the ace is primed. So, for the final time tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the death of the Batman. Batman versus Clayface, a fight which no one saw coming and no one expected much from. After all, how do you make Carlo into a credible threat for Batman without deception? Well, simple really, make use of a gadget presented earlier in the game and let the player act out their dirtiest Batman fantasy. This fight is mechanically dull but visually beautiful. Batman using his last breaths of air to fight off Joker's doppelganger while the real Joker stands in the wings, watching like Azrael before him. This fight, well, it's stunning. Timing is key. Clayface tries to chop, worm, hammer, and roll his way to victory, but well-timed dodges can send him packing, and using a bit of hot and cold therapy, we can use the freeze blast to freeze Mr. Face before chopping him using the sword of our beloved Talia. How poetic. The floor gives way, classic Joker, one final trapdoor gag to end the act, and we're back in the underworld, the Lazarus pit glowing, bubbling, waiting. It's not just a pool now, it's a symbol, rebirth, immortality, madness, and there he is, Batman with a sword. Not a gadget, not a tool, a sword, swinging, flipping, dicing his way through the mud monsters in a flurry of cape and rage. A new moveset, a new Batman. The developers did not have to go that hard, but they did for us. This is a love letter to Batman, a love letter to us. And just when you think it's over, Batman finishes it, cuts Clayface open from the inside. The cure back in hand. Victory? Almost.
Get out of my way, Bats! I've got a date with immortality! No! Quick! The cure! What are you waiting for? Come on! I killed your girlfriend, poisoned Gotham in hell. It's not even breakfast. But so what? We all know you'll save me.
Every decision you've ever made ends with death and misery. People die. I stop you. You'll just break out and do it again.
Think of it as a running gag. No! Are you happy now?
Do you want to know something funny? Even after everything you've done, I would have saved you.
That actually is pretty funny.
All units coordinated. What the?
Joker is dead. In the second game in the series, Joker dies. Batman's biggest foil dies. Again, in case you didn't hear me the first 3 times, in only the second game of the Arkham franchise, Joker dies. His death was a shocking one, not even one Batman foresaw, because like he said, he'd have given him the cure. The ending for this game punctuates the fact Arkham City is a lightning in a bottle moment, a once-in-a-generation game. The beauty in the ending is that still over a decade later, it's still up for some kind of interpretation. It still demands you take it seriously. Man vs. Jonkler ends not in an explosive finale atop Gotham Cathedral, not in a fistfight for Gotham's soul, or even a quiet exchange in an old amusement park. It ends with a sad, pathetic splutter. Joker's final act is one which goes against him as a character. It's pathetic. There's no grandstanding, he laps the cure up like a dying dog. It's sad and hard to watch and makes Joker's canonical final living appearance in the game a sad sight. A fitting end for the Clown Prince of Crime. Batman stands over him, telling Joker he'd have saved him, which leaves Joker laughing as he dies. He finds that hilarious. He killed himself. He stabbed Batman in the arm, causing him to drop the cure. All of this was his fault. And the irony of it all is, after trying to kill Batman for the cure, even after all of this, he'd have just handed it over. Proving to Joker he's better, proving that no matter how many times they may be in the same situation, they aren't alike. Batman solemnly carries Joker's body out of Arkham City. Harley and her thugs are stunned. Gordon doesn't get an explanation. The world thinks Batman killed Mr. J. Batman thinks he killed Mr. J. And the only one who saw the funny side of it, well, he's dead. Like all good stories, Arkham City has a neat little epilogue following Catwoman as she fights through the museum to take down Two-Face and get her stolen items back. Dent blows her apartment up, steals her shit and takes it to the museum, knowing she'll come and get it, and when she does, he'll kill her. The boss fight at the ending of the chapter is one of the most jarring things in the game. An awful end for a masterpiece story. Two-Face is given a health bar, his thugs and a stealth room we already beat once. We navigate through the museum using Catwoman's movement, make our way to Dent's room and thin his thugs out, make him one face and take him down for the second time tonight. Half of Selina's stuff is scattered around the city, and so we head into the city and grab all of her things from Dent's men, bringing our time in Arkham City to an end. Batman Arkham City is a masterpiece. Despite its flaws and obvious issues, Arkham City is held in the highest of regards, and is the blueprint for any successful superhero game after it. Is it perfect? Well, not quite, but it's the best. Rocksteady managed to capture the lightning in a bottle feeling of Asylum again. Some say they never quite did it again, even with Knight bringing Batman into the next generation. But what Arkham City did cannot be replicated. And despite this video's attempt to bring the game's glory to the forefront of the discussion, I know for a fact I didn't do it justice. Arkham City brought the definitive portrayals of Batman and the Joker back into the limelight. Conroy and Hamill gave it their all throughout, and it shows. They're the highlights here, as they should be. It improved on the combat to the nth degree, turning free flow into the definitive Batman combat system. The stealth is rewarding, fun and immersive. The story, despite its flaws, is arguably the best in the series. The map and world are both beautifully handcrafted and unique, and a great display of passion and love from Rocksteady, and the side content is rewarding and worthwhile. Batman Arkham City is a masterpiece. An unequivocal once-in-a-lifetime game that I hold very close to my heart. This video has been in the works for 6 months now. It almost didn't make it out of production. The script was abandoned 10 pages in and left for a long time, forgotten about. But I love Batman Arkham City and I couldn't leave it like that. This game deserved more, and I'd like to think I gave it my all. This really is a love letter to the game, full of Batman references, my own takes, and my best shot at analysis, because Batman Arkham City deserved nothing more than my best, and as a lifelong Batman fan, it felt wrong and lazy leaving City out of my retrospective series. Arkham City has been a part of my life since its release, and it will continue to be. It might not be my favourite, but it's the Arkham game I respect the most. It's the one I hold in the highest regard, objectively, and I think without it we wouldn't all be gathered on this channel or in the Arkham community in general. This isn't my first go at an Arkham City retrospective, as many of you will know. I tried one back in college, and that's on the channel in glorious 480p if you want to go see how that stacks up. Spoiler alert, it's worse. But no, that was the test run I made a year ago for my final year of college, and I'll link that in the description if you want to see it. This might sound silly, but as I'm writing this part of the script, it's quite an emotional moment for me because I never thought this video would get made, so it's quite a big moment for me personally, hence the overindulgent ending. Thank you all so much for the support. We've just passed 3,000 subscribers and are aiming for 5 by the end of the year, and this channel has surpassed any expectation I ever had, and that's all down to you guys liking, subscribing and commenting. We've built such a cool community of Batman fans here, so thank you guys. Not for being the community I deserved, but for being the one I needed. When I say you guys are the best, I mean that, because you've allowed me to make somewhat of a living from this whole YouTube thing, which was a pipe dream even as recently as December 2024. So, thank you. You guys really are the best. Let me know if you reach the end, because I'm going to go and sit in a dark cave for a while and shut my eyes. Thank you all. Thank you, Batman Arkham City. And in usual fashion, thank you for watching. Goodbye.